It is Thursday. Another Thursday, another stream. It is the first Thursday of February, and today is also I think the third personal feedback session of this year. It is not number 17. And today we're actually gonna not only do a personal feedback session, but also, as you can see right there, something else, which is a Q&A session. I have like planned maybe to do like an hour maybe of questions, or covering the questions that I have collected. I don't know if we need that long, but that'll be the end. If it goes longer, then I'm gonna cut it there. But welcome, Nebulous. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. But yeah, we're gonna begin with answering questions about Blender, and then we're gonna go and transition over to the personal feedback session. I just saw right when I posted the what is it? that I went live, that Passion just posted in the personal feedback channel that or tried to reserve a spot right when I went live. I said a new rule: when I go live, that's when the submissions end. Okay, so now it's too late. Okay, I'm gonna enforce this rule. I'm not gonna be gonna give you leeway. Okay, you have 2 weeks per feedback session, so you have enough time to submit. So yeah, we're gonna begin with some questions. If you have questions live, you can also ask them. I'm gonna answer them. And welcome back, Kenji. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday too. So yeah, we're gonna begin with a personal feedback session, and then we're gonna transition over to the personal feedback session. So yeah, I mean, I think we can begin right away, because there's nothing else to cover. So let's switch to Blender, because that's a familiar screen. Actually, no, we can go to here, because I want to open all the questions. I made screenshots of them, so I can just read them off, and you can see them. There you go. There it is. Okay. So yeah, we have, I think we have like 15 questions. These ones, we have 18 in here, 18 screenshots, but 3 of them were basically the same. So we have 15. Let's get through them, and then we can go and transition over to the personal feedback session. Or of course, if you have more, if there's anybody that has some more live, then you can ask them too, of course. So let's begin with the first question. The first question is by Zan. Hold on. There you go. Zan asks, can you make a video tips for hard surface sculpting, or can you make a helmet hard surface mech / biomech human hard surface sculpting? That's what I've been waiting for. Thank you. So I I actually looked through YouTube recently before I uploaded my... Well, first of all, I have a new video, a time-lapse showing how I sculpt like a mech helmet. So if you want to know how I do it, you can see a time-lapse of it. So yeah, that's one thing that I answered right away. But in general, I like to actually sculpt helmets, because then I can use the sculpt and retopologize it basically to create the I guess the smoother version of the helmet, I guess you could say. With sculpting, it takes, I think, too much time to really refine every single edge to make it like very clean and very, hard surface like. That I like to begin with sculpting and then transition to retopologizing once I'm happy with the shapes basically. That's what you can see in the video that I mean. And yeah, so I don't necessarily think that it might be the best option. I transitioned for clothing or for armor, I transitioned from sculpting over to hard surface or to poly modeling right away. For more organic shapes, it might be better to do... I think in general hard surface modeling might be faster or maybe better to do in poly modeling. But of course, if you want to do hard surface sculpting, then I think the best or the most important tools that I think or that I use is, first of all, the standard sculpting tools that I use, which is the snakehook brush, the clay strips brush, to sort of shape the volume. Same with the smooth brush. The smooth brush is very important because you can, make stuff smoother, make nice and clean surfaces. And then stuff like the grab brush, like the standard brushes that I use. And then also the last one or last two that are very important or can be very, very helpful are the fill brush and maybe the flatten brush. The fill brush, what it basically does, I can show you what it does. So the fill brush has a very cool function. I'm going to show it to you by using, let's set it to, oh, you know what, we can probably use this. So if I now just make an edge right here that looks something like this, like a nice sharp edge, and I want to sort of make these two sides flat. Of course, I can add a little bit more surface here. I can smooth this side, and then I can smooth the other side too, to create this nice hard surface edge basically. But it still looks sort of a little bit messy, a little bit sort of wobbly. It's not very nice and clean. What you can use to make this cleaner is, what I like to do is I like to, for example, go higher with maybe to 100 resolution, and then I like to use the fill brush. It's the fill brush. Welcome back, Coach Stefan. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday too. The fill brush, what it does is it looks at it takes the surface where the cursor is over, makes an average of those vertices in terms of height. So it determines a height average, and everything that is below that height average will be pulled up to that height average. So if you go now to this edge here, what will happen is if we go like over here, most of the cursor is on this side, so it'll kind of take this height as the average height. And if the cursor kind of goes over the edge, everything that is basically behind the edge will be pulled up to the average, which lets us define edges very, very well. It basically refines them by pulling more geometry up and making them very clean. I think it's easier to show you than just to explain to you what it does. If we do this now, you can see we can create this very nice and clean edge here. If we do it not only on one side, we can then smooth bottom part here. If you do it on the other side too, you can see it very slightly erases the edges here on the edge and makes them nice and clean. If we do that a few times, we can make some nice clean edges, and then we can also go in here with the smooth brush again, make them even cleaner. And this way is basically, that's one way how I like to fine tune it. If you want to go into really a lot of, I guess, detail, you can also set it to relative detail. The only time that I like using relative detail, going very, very close and then, sculpting with a lot of detail here, maybe even setting it to 6. And then you can go in here and say, hey, I want to make this even sharper. Maybe I want to be even closer to make it even cleaner. There you go, look at that. And then we can make a nice sharp edge with just the fill brush. That's what I like to use to refine edges in hard surface sculpting. There you go. Of course, they're not going to be like perfectly straight. That's where you would use retopology basically. Multi-plane scrape, yeah, multi-plane scrape can work well too. The only problem that I found with multi-plane scrape is that if you sort of, you know, your hand wobbles around a little bit, which can lead to these, you know, these wobbly lines. In my experience, I like the flatten brush more because you have kind of like more control over the edge. With the multi-plane scrape, it always feels like a one and done where you have to get it right or it looks kind of weird. Maybe you can reduce the strength a little bit and make it a little bit, you know, weaker and go over it multiple times. That can probably work too. I just gotten used to the flatten brush. But of course you can also use the multi-plane scrape brush. You can maybe even determine a, you can deactivate dynamic mode and then determine a certain what is it, plane angle that it uses. So if you want to have like a 90-degree angle here, you can set it to 90 and then go very close and then you get a nice 90-degree angle. So you can use the multi-plane scrape tool for this too. Yeah, so those two tools I basically add to my arsenal when I do hard surface sculpting, just because they can make the sculpt nice and clean, basically clean them up very well. Okay, yep. You know, it doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's a helmet, hard surface, or biomech human, for example. I don't really add too many more tools. Just these two, I think, are enough to do the job. Okay, let's go to the next one. At what view in terms of focal length should you sculpt to avoid distortion? So I actually made a video showing what distortion actually does to a face. Let me see if I can find it. I just kind of showed in a video what focal length in the viewport does to your character if you sculpt with a lower focal length, for example. Focal length in general, what it does is it distorts the image the smaller your focal length is, and the closer you are to your model. Which means if you have the standard is 50 focal length, which is for sculpting oftentimes for characters a little bit too small, just because as I said before, it distorts the character a little bit and can sort of skew the look. You might think, hey, you know, the scope looks pretty good in the viewport, but then if you render it with your camera, maybe with a higher focal length, it looks kind of weird. So the focal length that I recommend or that I use is 85. I've seen a lot of other people use it too. 85 is, I think, like a good sweet spot to make it nice and flat, but not too flat, basically. The higher you go, of course, the closer you get to orthographic view with no perspective. I think 85 is a good spot to sculpt in. Let's see if I can find the old video. I think it should be somewhere here. There it is. I think it was actually in the first month. Let's see. Nope, it wasn't. Wait, nope. Let's go to this one here. Welcome back, Celindu. Hope you have enjoyed your Thursday too. Let's see. Hair particle, here maybe? Come on, where is it? Nope, not here. It must be somewhere. Oh no, I can't even open it. Because I, let me just open it on YouTube. There you go. So, oh, there it is. Oh, give me that. There you go. So, somewhere in the beginning, you can see focal length and what it does. There it is. So, here's what focal length does to a character in the viewport, for example, or with a camera in general. Here's the focal length 230 millimeters, and here's focal length 24 millimeters. You can see how much it distorts the image. And here's like an example that I did too. This is actually from the viewport in Blender. I animated the focal length and also where the camera is. The closer, like the camera, if you don't change the camera position, but you change the focal length, you basically also zoom in a little bit. So here you can see it goes from 20 focal length to 120 focal length, and you can see how much it changes the character. We go from this, which is 20 focal length, to this, which is like super nice and flat. You can see all the shapes of the head. 120 might be a little bit too much. I like to use 85 basically, which would be somewhere probably like 85 would be somewhere over there maybe. It's not too flat, but it's also not really that distorted. I think that's like it's like a sweet spot for sculpting basically. Okay. Next question. Hold on, there it is. What kind of schedule would be good to learn this kind of stuff, like an hour or so a day? I think that was in a question when I showed off a sculpt. And also what to focus on at first and what topics would be good to learn. So, welcome back, Ameli. Oh, I actually remember you said yesterday, I forgot. You said that there's a way to create these hair. We talked about hair strands and how I wanted to use a texture for the brush shape, basically, so that it's not just a circle, but actually like multiple lines to make more hair strands at once. I think you said you have like an answer for that. Okay, so what kind of schedule would be good to learn this kind of stuff, like an hour or so a day, like sculpting, and also what to focus on at first and what topics would be good to learn. So schedule, I mean, you know, how much you want. I guess the schedule that I would tell you is how as much as you like to, and so much that you don't get burnt out on it. So, you know, it depends on how much you want to do, you know. I, for example, did, at least before, when I still did quick sketches, I at least did, you know, like 30 minutes to an hour every day. It doesn't have, you know, it can be more, it can be less. It can be more like a 5-hour session and then you don't do stuff the next 2 days, you know, whatever you think, you know, you feel comfortable with it. You know, of course, the more you do, the faster you can improve. So you can kind of balance it out for yourself. I mean, in the beginning, I guess, if you, for example, have a lot of other stuff to do, maybe 30 minutes to an hour every day, I think is a good time to start. Just because I think that gives you enough time to sort of get yourself into the topic that you want to sort of learn and start doing stuff and start kind of, you know, thinking deeper in, or kind of engaging deeper into the topic. If you do that, I think every day, that's pretty good. I, for example, do something similar for aiming for FPS games. I have a I do an FPS trainer, or at least I did one every day for like 15 minutes, and I quickly improved, you know. So 15 minutes even every day can quickly give you great results. So you know, it just comes down to, you know, how much you feel comfortable with doing, or how much you want to do, and kind of balancing those two out. What to focus on at first? I think so. When it comes to sculpting, or well, when somebody asks like, hey, you know, what should I focus on when I want to learn this? I would always say the basics, because the basics are the most important thing to get right. Once you know the basics, you can build upon them. But if you don't have basics, you can't really build upon them, because if you build upon them, they don't have a good base, so they would crumble, you know. So what I mean with that is, for example, if you learn how to, if you haven't practiced sculpting a head enough, and then you go into practicing, like, you can sort of do a head, but it still looks kind of weird. But then you say, oh, I've done so many heads already, I want to go into how to sculpt folds, you know. Even though you might be like a amazing artist at sculpting folds, if your base head doesn't look right, nothing looks right. So it's always important to get the basics right. What I mean with basics when it comes, for example, to character sculpting would be the human anatomy, when it comes to the bone structure, to the muscle anatomy, and the fat, I guess, pads, for example, how these layers kind of interact with each other and where they are and whatnot. That might sound a little bit dry maybe, but I think you can sort of explore these as you do multiple characters, for example. You don't have to do that like just kind of looking at a, I don't know, image and trying to learn them. You can just, you know, kind of explore, or I guess learn different structures of the face by sculpting multiple characters. And yeah, basically not really worrying too much about small details, really trying to get the basic shapes right. Even with basic shapes, you can create really great characters. What I always refer back to, or what this always reminds me of, what I always think about when I kind of think about like the basic shapes are enough, is when you look at likeness sculpts. Likeness sculpts don't really, well, to create a likeness of somebody, you do not need folds or stuff like that. The only thing that you really need are the basic shapes, the proportions, how big the eyes are, how long the nose is, to kind of capture the likeness of somebody. Everything on top of that is basically just, I guess, details which can improve it, but they're not necessarily necessary, I guess. So really, really make sure that the basics look right until you worry about, I guess, more complex stuff. So when you want to learn characters, yeah, stuff like the structure of the face, planes of the face, for example, or yeah, I mean, that's, I think, one of the most important things in the beginning. Welcome back, Mr. Digital Works. Goedenavond. Next one. How do I bake sculpting details to normal maps on retopologized mesh for use in game engines? So I think the best way to do that, or the one way that I know how it works, is to use multi-resolution. What I mean by that is, if you go, I have done it once. I had a problem with it though, but I know that it works because other people recommend it too, and I think that is sort of the way that you usually would do it. What you would basically do is you would go into your model that you basically, so to bake stuff onto, to bake stuff from a high-res model to a low-res model as normal maps, you have to kind of, I guess, the process needs to know the low-res model and the high-res model so that it can tell the low-res model how the low-res model is supposed to change to get the high-res model. And the best way that I know to do that would be with multi-resolution. What multi-resolution basically is it, you can do subdivisions, you can subdivide the model, but it keeps the levels of subdivision in the multi-res modifier, which means you can switch between them here with these sliders here. You can go to level 2, level 3, and you can sculpt on each individual one of these sculpt levels. If you then, for example, go in here and you go to level 3 and you go into sculpting, you can now, for example, change this with like a, I don't know, like a grab, or this brush here, for example. You can change the model. There you go. Which is the level 3 change, subdivision level 3. And then you can go back out of sculpting. And if you now go down to a different viewport, you can kind of still see the changes, but you still retain the previous levels of resolution. So now you have a low res model and you have a more high res model where you can now take this and sort of bake it onto the low res model. And the way you would do that now would be to bake the multi-res displacement. I think it is in the render settings. Let's see. If you go to bake from multi-res, there it is. Yeah, I have played around with it a little bit. I haven't looked into it too much, but that's basically the way that you can bake, you know, your very high density, small details from your model to a more low res model. Yeah. Hold on. My headset is already, oh, sorry, empty already. Okay, I should change it before the stream. Have nothing new, time not enough for everything. Well, sometimes it just be like that. Yeah, multi-res baking basically. Okay. Next one. How do you attach and seamlessly join two objects? So I think what you mean is when I, for example, have this cube. Well, let's use something else. Let's use if we have this UV sphere here, and then we have I don't know, we have a cube. But now we already have, well, here they go. If we have a cube and we have this sphere, how do you join them together so that they, you know, there's no like line and they, I guess, merge together? The way that I like to use it, or like to do it, is some people like to use the Boolean modifier right here. Some people like to use the Boolean modifier and then set it to union, so you can join these two together. But I like to do it a little bit differently. if you want to keep I guess geometry that you have here with the basic shapes, then you would probably use the Boolean modifier. But if you don't really care about the geometry here, like for example for me, if I create like a base mesh and then I want to join all the different pieces together to create the final body, for example, I don't really care about the geometry. So what I can do here is I can just select these two. There you go. Control J. So I join them together into one object. So you can see if I select one, both are selected and they're both in the same edit mode thingy here. What I can do now is I can either go to the modifier section and use remesh, which basically reinterprets the object and merges them together. As you can see there, there's no corner anymore in the middle. You can do it like this and then increase the voxel size, for example. Or decrease, right? You have to decrease it. There you go. You can decrease it to get it closer and closer to the original. Or you can also go into sculpting and do the same there. You can also use the remesh modifier here. Right there you can see right now it's still not the same model. But if you go down to the remesh setting here, you can change the voxel size, or you can just Control R to remesh it and then it's joined together. That's what I like to use. What I like to do when I create a base mesh, for example. There you go. And then you can of course, sculpt it so that the seams maybe, or that the sort of transition looks a little bit smoother. But that's how I like to do it. With the Boolean modifier, of course, you basically join them together and the geometry stays the same, and then you might have to clean it up a little bit to make it look a little bit cleaner, especially when you want to shade it smooth, for example. Okay. Next one. I'm currently working on my own game and want to start modeling some characters with literally no experience. Where should I start? So, when it comes to characters, or learning characters, the way that I learned them is bit by bit. So, some people maybe like to start with, oh, I want to create a character, so I'm going to learn the head, including the full body. But what I would suggest how to learn characters, or how to learn, I guess, human anatomy, especially because, well, if you want to create characters, you need to learn what a body is made out of, how it works. So you need to learn anatomy. The way that I learned is I practiced and learned the head first, and then once I was comfortable with sculpting a head, I added the neck, then I added the shoulders, and every time I added a new piece to the puzzle, I guess you could say, or to the body, or I added a part of the body further until I reached the end. Basically, every time I added one piece, I practiced and did more characters with all these pieces together until I felt comfortable with what it looks like. And I felt comfortable with the anatomy. So, at some point maybe I was, after adding the neck and the shoulders, I felt comfortable with the shoulders. I thought, I'm fairly comfortable with the anatomy. So now let me add maybe the rib cage or the chest and also the upper arm, for example. So I did that, and then I practiced those a little bit more. So bit by bit you add more and more pieces to the character, I guess, until you reach the end, the full body. And you can finally create full body characters. That would probably be the beginning. And then once you have characters, you can transition over to clothing, for example. Or what you can also do if you're kind of getting bored with how to sculpt, like for example, how practicing characters, you don't want to do that like monotonous over and over, creating character over character and character. You can also switch between multiple topics, like how to create hair, how to create clothing. As long as you don't get bored, you can learn. You can switch between these topics to I guess kind of keep your interest a little bit more than maybe you would be interested in it if you would only really sculpt anatomy, for example. Have you gotten into geometry nodes yet? We did a few, I think like 2 topics on stream about it, but I haven't looked into them recently. I haven't looked into them a lot yet. Maybe we'll look into them again at some point. But that's a whole new system that I haven't really looked into too much yet. I know sort of the very basics, but it's like an RPG where you get like systems so that you can work with, and then the more you work with them, the more you realize that they have like this huge scope, and like this huge scope of what you can do with it. So I haven't really looked into it too much. As they say, you want to do something, but there's no talent. Repeat everything in automatism. If you have no, I mean, talent only gets you so far, you know. Talent can give you a little boost in the beginning, but it won't bring you to the end. So you know, time and dedication is more important, I would say. Okay, let's get to the next one. Wait, there it is. Wait, did I close it? Yeah, I did. I don't know which question I was. There it is. Can Blender sculpting be better than ZBrush in the future? So, I don't think so. Well, it is certainly possible that it can be better, but the difference between Blender and ZBrush is that ZBrush is focused on making the digital sculpting experience, and I guess, yeah, giving you the best digital sculpting tool that exists. You know, it tries to be the best. Blender doesn't really try to do that. Blender more tries to be the best all-around 3D modeling or 3D software. So, for example, you can do rendering, like physically based rendering in Blender. You can do shading, you can do texturing, you can do animating, you can do even like video editing, you can do compositing, you can do like basically everything that encompasses maybe 3D in general. And with ZBrush, they really very much focus on giving you the best experience when it comes to sculpting, and yeah, they try to be a master of one thing, and Blender more tries to be sort of a what is it? I can't remember what the saying is. Something like master of none. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, basically ZBrush tries to improve in one thing, and Blender tries to basically improve in all things, which of course has, you know, they have different goals, so I don't think Blender is going to be better than ZBrush. I guess maybe you can consider it better, but more because there's more around the sculpting that can help you maybe in sculpting itself. The problem is now Blender against Zebra. What is Zebra? Was that an auto writing error? This is the direction of Blender in the direction of Houdini. I don't think Blender can get to Houdini either, because Houdini is specialized on simulations, so that's the same battle, I would say, you know. Yeah, the jack of all trades, master of none, exactly. There was another, there was another last sentence to it. There was one more, hold on. Jack of all trades, master of none, full quote. The complete saying was, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Formerly intended as a compliment, the phrase means that a person is a generalist rather than a specialist, versatile and adept at many things. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think ZBrush will, or Blender will, I guess, be better at ZBrush in sculpting. Next one. I have a video request. Could you please show us how to wrap cloth around an object, such as the bandage on your character's nose, but for more complex objects like guns, scopes? Sorry, this is a bit selfish, but I'm really struggling with that on one of my projects. So, I've done a short about this recently. Well, I don't know when it was, but at some point I've explained how you can do it, for example, but that was more for like arms, where you would basically take a cylinder, you would put it around the arm, and then you would use a shrink wrap modifier to put it on the arm itself. Then you would duplicate it, bring it a little bit lower, maybe rotate it a little bit, so that you can create like this bandage on your arm. There's another way that you can do it. There are two ways. I'm gonna talk about both because they're very similar. The first one, let me see if I can find the video. What is that? Should be in here then. Nope. Wait, where am I? Oh, I'm in backup. Hold on. There it is. Is it in here? Nope. It should be somewhere up here. Welcome back, Manica. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Come on, where are you? Mask, makeup, arm wraps. There it is. So here you can see. Oh, I can't open it because it's a big thingy again. Well, that's annoying. Can I show it in you in here? I can't, can I? You know what? I'm gonna open it, okay? There you go. So basically, you can see right here, you basically use a cylinder, you wrap it around the arm, or you bring it to the arm, you add some more geometry so that it can deform with the arm shape, for example. If it's a gun, you could probably still do it. It might deform a little bit differently. What I would suggest for a gun though, because it's it has very sharp edges, I have a different way how you could do it too. At some point, I have basically worked on a character where I wanted to have very like wrinkly cloth wrapping around two, I guess, branches. And there I've done it a little bit differently. I have used an add-on called Soft Wrap, which basically enables you to turn any object into sort of like a soft wrap. It's basically a combination of soft wrap and shrink wrap, where it turns the geometry into like a soft body simulation, and then also applies a shrink wrap modifier gradually to the mesh. And what you can do with that is it's more supposed to be used for stuff like, there you go. Hold on. Hello. Oh. Okay. It's more intended to be used for retopology, for reusing old objects. But what you can also use it for is you can basically use a cylinder again. You can wrap it around the gun, for example, and then you can also just use a plane. You can just model it around the object, and then you can use a cloth simulation. And in the cloth simulation, you can set it to, wait, there you go, and then we add maybe like a UV sphere, make it bigger, okay? And then we can use a cloth simulation, set it to cloth. Of course, the other object has to be set to collision. And then you go to the object here, maybe you add some subdivisions, and let's apply it. And then you go in here and you can change the pressure. If you enable pressure, what it does is basically it lets you give the object pressure, so it can be like expand or it can shrink, and we want to shrink it basically. And what you can do with that is basically, you know, shrink the plane down to the, I guess, model that you want to wrap it around to create wraps around the model. So if you now change, or if you now play it just like this, we should be able to see it just falls down, and then of course at some point it's going to collide with the cube. But if we now change the pressure, and also probably we need to change the field weight to gravity 0. There you go. And then we change the, well, if you now play it, you can see nothing changes. It just stays there. If we change the pressure to 1, it should expand. You can see it kind of wobbles a little bit. It's very tense, so it doesn't deform that much. But if we now change the pressure to -1, it will get, you know, it shrinks together. And that's how you can sort of wrap stuff around an object. I guess we can do the same with like a plane, for example. Or let's use a cylinder for this example. There you go, make it bigger. Remove these faces. And then we can scale it. There you go, apply scale. And then we can apply the same cloth. Oh, hello. Reset the simulation. And increase pressure, remove gravity. And then you can set it to pressure -1. And then, or maybe we can apply some subdivisions too. If we now start it, you can see it's basically like wrapping around the object. One benefit of using soft wrap is that soft wrap enables you to in real time move the geometry. That is the bonus, I guess, that you have for soft wrap. Soft wrap is not enabled in this version of Blender, but yeah, you can check it out if you want, you know. But soft wrap is sort of the easier way of doing this, but you can also do it with normal cloth simulations here. There you go. Okay, yeah, that's how I would do it. You can shift right click VLC. Oh, okay. MPV player. I think I'm pretty happy with VLC. Yeah, I can probably just open a new window. Okay. Where to start sculpting or when? So I took this question as which program should I use to start sculpting? I would say Blender is the best one to start. First of all, because it's free. Well, basically because it's free. There are probably other programs too that are free where you can learn sculpting, but I think Blender is like the best out of all of them. You basically have the decision between ZBrush and Blender, and the difference between Blender and ZBrush don't really matter that much in the beginning. So, you know, why would you start with something you need to pay for if you can also just start for free and see if you actually like sculpting? So I would say, you know, you can start with Blender and see if you like it, and then maybe at some point, maybe I now, after 2 years or 2.5 years of sculpting, can decide like, you know, maybe I thought about maybe switching to ZBrush and to test it out, but you know, even I can still benefit, or I don't really see the horror, or I don't really see like big deficits of sculpting compared to ZBrush. Of course, there are differences, but I don't really feel them too much. So I would say you can start with Blender. When? I mean, whenever you want, I guess. Okay. Blender to Unity to VR chat. I think he commented under a different video too. He wanted to know how, I guess, the full workflow starting in Blender, creating a character, bringing that to Unity so that you can prepare to VR chat, I think. I think I said I don't have too much experience bringing like characters into game engines, but as far as I know, first of all, there's a good channel for these kinds of like bringing a character from scratch, creating a character from scratch and then bringing it into a game engine, for example, or maybe even creating your own game. It is Royal Skies. Hold on, let me find the channel real quick. Royal Skies. There you go. There it is, Royal Skies. He makes basically like videos about like very quick videos, like 2 to 5 minutes tutorials about different topics. And he, for example, from him I learned how to rig characters and how to animate them and stuff like that, white painting and stuff like that. So I think he has a good, I guess, playlist with all the things that you need to know when you want to bring characters from Blender, or you want to create characters and then you want to bring them into, for example, what is it called again? VR chat. In general, you know, you would create a character maybe with sculpting, maybe with polymodeling right away. You would prepare the model in terms of retopology, the geometry of the model. You would prepare it so that you can then apply a skeleton to it. Whether that is in Blender, you would probably do it in Unity. You would apply a skeleton, and then you would do some more stuff in Unity to prepare it for VR chat, I guess. I haven't really done too much game character preparations or workflows, so I can't really tell you that much about it. But that's what I know about it. I'm right now at the intermediate level of 3D designing, and I'm 19 years old. Can you please give me advice to how I can earn money from this skill? So of course, 19 years is still pretty young, you know, and if you're already on an intermediate level, that's good. I guess the best way to find somebody that pays you money for it would be to make yourself visible. So post on social media, post on, you know, Reddit, or post on anything where people can find you basically, and you know, make people see you basically. So then, if you know, the more people see you, the more people might be interested in your skills and might give you offers. Of course, you can also go a little bit further into the sort of getting job direction. The other one is more passive. Maybe you can also pursue a job right away by, for example, creating a resume and then sending that to somebody, maybe like every few months, not like every month maybe. Sending that to like a studio, for example, and ask them, you know, hey, you know, I do this and that. can I work with you? Of course, a little bit more formal and, you know, a little bit more developed as an email, for example. Send them their resume, and then, you know, maybe they can give you a job, or maybe even just like an internship to learn, to get even better and improve your skills. Or you can also go to Fiverr and stuff like that, like different platforms that I guess enable people to come together and, you know, do like people can give you work right away. I think there are multiple ways you can do it. You can decide however, you know, how you want to do it, whether you want to go into the direct route and kind of approach people that, you know, could give you work, or you do it more passively. 19 years, I guess you're not in school anymore. In high school, you would maybe you're in uni, so you could do it on the side, do some social media and do some like getting yourself out there, getting yourself known, to put more eyes on you, basically. Those would be my two, you know, ways to do it. I about when you need to open the quick video. What do you mean? Oh, play 8. Okay, I'll see you. Gosh, Stefan. Let's get to the next one. We're almost done, I think. Is there any way to make this double bun hairstyle using hair particles? So the one that this comment refers to is my hold on. They refer to, where is it? There it is. So at some point we did a follow along sculpting tutorial about Neon, a Valorant character, and this was the image that I put into the post, this one. So they asked if they can create these buns, not in sculpting but with hair particles too. Yeah. Hair particles are fairly versatile. Once you sort of know how to work with them, you can create probably almost any hairstyle with them. So it just comes down to the workflow. I've done a few tutorials. You can find them on my live channel, for example. I have done a few thorough tutorials, explained how I do it. So if you're interested in that, you can probably, you know, check those out and yeah, see how I do it. But you can definitely do it. Dynamic topology sculpting or not? Would you sculpt with dynamic topology or not? So we've done a stream about that, or an experiment about that yesterday. So if you want to watch the stream, you can do that. Of course, I'm gonna do a video about it too, in the, you know, soon. So yeah, in general, both have their advantages and disadvantages. So you can decide, or maybe even combine them together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can also be combining them both together. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, so you can decide which one you like more. That's basically the answer that I would give you. So you can decide for yourself. I myself, I like both. Maybe I'll combine them at some point. I thought about it. I would have to, you know, do a few sculpts to get them to know better, get to know them better. Okay. There's the same question. Want to know more about dynamic topology and voxel remesh. When I join two models to each other, or when I join two models, Blender breaks. I think he means that if you go into Blender and you, for example, want to merge two objects like this cube and then, I don't know, like another cube here. What can sometimes happen is that there are different ways that Blender or the Boolean modifier can break. It can either, let me get rid of this. Okay. It can either break by basically removing one object but keeping the other one the same. Here you can see it perfectly just remove this edge because these objects are very simple. But if the geometry is more complex, it can kind of break everything. One annoying thing is sometimes if you go into the modifier and you set it to difference, and you select the other model or the other mesh, it doesn't cut the model out of the other one, but it joins them together for some reason. One solution that I found how you can fix that is by going into the solver down here and switching it from exact to fast. Sometimes that changes or that fixes this error. Or what you can also do is you can go into these two objects and you can press G to move it very, very lightly. Hold Shift to do it even smaller. So you can see if I press G like this, it moves it very, very quickly. But if I press G and hold Shift, it does this very dampened, I guess, movement, so you can be a little bit more precise. And what I would usually do is I would press G, hold shift, and then move it very, very lightly until, I guess, the problem fixes itself. What oftentimes happens is if I have this sort of merge problem, for example, if I select one of these two objects and then I move it very lightly, very quickly, it basically fixes itself and it gives me the result that I want. So those are the two options that have worked for me so far. Maybe these solver options can work too, but yeah, these two have helped me so far. These two have fixed all the problems that I had with the Boolean modifier so far. Okay. I'll be happy to get some more arm and muscle sculpting tips. I think the best arm and muscle sculpting tip, or the best way to learn about arm and muscle anatomy or how to sculpt them, is to look at where the muscle connects, basically where the two attachment points to the muscle are and what the muscle is supposed to do. Sort of, I guess that answers itself a little bit when you know where they attach to. But once you know where the two muscles attach, or where the muscle attaches, like for example the chest muscle connects here in the middle to the clavicle and to the middle part of the rib cage, and then goes out to the upper arm bone basically and connects to there, so you can move your arm inwards. So once you know that the muscle connects to this spot here and then to the arm, you know that when it contracts, it pulls the bone together, which, you know, by knowing where it connects to, you automatically know what the muscle is supposed to do. And you can kind of, when you know where it lies, you can sort of imagine it when you sculpt it. So that has helped me the most. Now that I know, for example, that this muscle here for the forearm connects to the upper arm muscle, then to the hand or to the wrist, I can now, you know, sculpt it sort of where my upper arm begins and then go all the way to the forearm until you know, to the wrist, and sculpt it all the way to there. So I start with my arms being pretty thin, and then I add more and more, I guess, volume onto it, basically kind of following the structure or the attachments of these individual muscles to bring them all together into one volume. That's sort of, I think, the best way how you can sort of practice or learn, understand the human anatomy and the muscles of the body. Of course, you would also have to kind of learn what the bones look like, but I think that sort of comes with learning where the muscles attach to. Okay. I think there are like one or two more. Do you think Blender could get support for a real-time video stream which can then be combined with Eevee, similar to Unreal or in-camera VFX essentially? Given that we have amps like Camtrack, AR and such already, utilizing the available hardware to be Blender friendly. So I think, so what he means is you can basically, they use that for the Mandalorian. Basically, if you have like VFX in a shot, basically, for example, if the background is a alien planet, of course you can put the person in the alien planet. You would have to bring the VFX in later. That's what you would usually do. You would have like a blue screen or like a green screen in the background, and then the person would be in front of it. You would remove the green screen so that you can bring the alien planet into the background afterwards. But now with the Unreal Engine, for example, you can do it a little bit differently, where you basically include the world into the set. So they're basically like screens or projectors behind the person, behind the character, and you would basically track your real life camera in Unity, so that when you move your camera in real life, the Unity camera moves, and the projectors basically always show you what the camera needs to see for the environment, the alien background, basically to look realistic behind the character. It's a little bit harder to explain, but hopefully that was sort of understandable. You can basically bring in you can film the VFX with your real life camera while you're actually filming the actual real life footage, basically. So you don't have to do it afterwards. You can do that in Unreal right now, and they're asking whether or not that could be possible with Eevee. I think it could be possible. Eevee, I think, is still not as strong as Unreal. maybe even with a few more iterations with graphic cards, maybe you can do it with Cycles too, because Cycles is getting better and better with less and less noise, you know. But you know, at some point I think it's going to be possible. Just probably takes a while, a little bit more. Question is whether or not Blender really goes in that direction, or it, you know, just kind of, you know, doesn't really care about it too much. It can probably be, it's probably possible at some point, but it's probably not going to be the sort of main tool. Blender's not going to be the main tool for it, I would say. Okay. That's the last question. Oh no, that's the same. Okay. What do you think about dynamic body versus remeshing? So yeah, I'm gonna make a video about that for next week. Okay, those are all the questions. It's actually perfectly an hour. So now we're ready to go into some feedback. So let's do that now. Let me open Blender. We don't need this. Let me reset all this. There you go. Okay, perfect. So we have a few blend files. We have a few images. So let's begin with those now. There you go. Oh, they're here. Perfect. Okay. Feedback session number 17. So the first one that has posted something, the first person, was Purge. Purge posted his head. No, hold on. I'm wrong. The first one was Brazilian Dutchy. So he's the first one that posted actually while I was doing the last personal feedback session. So it's been 2 weeks. You know, it's been a while, but you know, it is how it is. He posted this this head. Let's give some feedback on that. Let's go into Photoshop and do it there. There you go. So okay, so I think first of all, the face looks very very detailed, and I like the, I guess, I think you've sort of nailed the planes of the face. So you know, you've included some, like, a nice strong line here, kind of separating the forehead, for example, from the side of the head right here. For example, you have a nice strong cheekbone right here. I like the structure of the face. I think you've done a good job with that. One thing, welcome back, Hustler. Hope you had a great day too. So there are a few things that kind of jump out to me that you could consider improving. One thing that I'm wondering with this one is actually whether or not this one is supposed to be a hybrid of more of a like an animal with a human, because the sort of front part here, the face or the mouth, looks a little bit like a tiger, especially the nose too has like a nose, like a tiger shape. So I was wondering whether or not this is a sort of tiger human face, like a tiger human combination. I'm gonna treat this as like a normal human face. So yeah. First of all, of course, we don't have any ears. I think ears are very important when it comes to faces, because they can really change not only the, well, they basically change the silhouette of a head. And if you think about a head, of course, you would always think about ears too. So not having an ear here kind of feels a little bit like there's something missing, of course, because there is. So that's one thing that you could consider adding. The next thing that that kind of jumped out to me is right here. You have this very, very deep sort of cut right here. It's not too bad that you have it here, but I think there's like a little bit of, I think there needs to be a little bit more volume here. I've talked about this fat pad that lies here quite a lot. I think if you add that here, you can kind of bring a little more depth, or a little bit more. Yeah, once you add the sort of fat pad, it kind of reshapes the face a little bit more, and I think it makes it look a little bit more human, you could say. Because right now there's no fat pad here. There's just like this hole basically, which kind of waits for the fat pad to come back. So I think once you kind of add this here, you can really make this, yeah, kind of, you know, make it look a little bit more human, I guess you could say. I think that's also one reason why the front here looks a little bit like a tiger, because oftentimes, like, you know, if you make like humanoid characters that are supposed to look like tigers, or I guess mice too, is that you kind of extend the front part of the mouth or the lips a little bit further forward. You can see that, for example, with the Grinch, or the people in the Grinch movie. I think with him it's a little bit harder, but if you go to the kids, Grinch, kids, let's see. Hold on, Grinch movie, kids. Maybe I'm thinking about the wrong movie, but I don't think so. Hold on, maybe humans. There it is. They all have a certain sort of change to their face. First of all, the nose is very high, and the sort of upper lip is a little bit pushed forward. You can see the same with him. And that sort of resembles the face of a tiger, for example. If you look at a tiger, maybe you can see a 3/4 view. Come on. Here you can see, it's hard to see, but here you can see how we have these two like cheeks here on the side, and then you have the chin sort of underneath it. If you kind of trace this shape here, the sort of cheeks on the side, and then the chin at the bottom, you can sort of trace it to here too. There you go. So why I think this is like a tiger is because not only these two nice little cheeks right here, we could add some, you know, some whiskers, but also because of the lip shape. The lip shape has this sort of edge here at the top. If you look at him, he also has that here, this triangle. That's why I kind of think looks like a tiger humanoid. But if it's not supposed to be, okay, then I would say you could add like a little fat pad right here to kind of give this some more volume here. And then you can also look at the lips. I think you have a pretty good lower lip. I think the lower lip looks pretty good, but there's no real volume for the upper lip. So maybe you could, you know, kind of add some more volume here to make it, you know, to kind of add like an upper lip. It doesn't even have to be in front of the lower lip, but you know, right now it doesn't seem like there's anything. So maybe refining, you know, the shape a little bit more can probably help there too. Okay. Another thing, I think the forehead sort of musculature looks a little bit, I guess, messy, you could say. What I mean is, I think you have like a few too many muscles here in the top. What you basically have is, of course, you have the eye muscle that goes around the eye like this, and then you have so this is the circular, basically. Then you have the eye here, the eyelid, of course. Then you have more muscles here at the top. Let me look at my friendly friend here. So, of course, you have muscles here for the eyebrow. This muscle here in the middle, for example, if it extends or if it contracts, you would kind of, you know, do this frowny face, because it kind of pulls from here together. So you have like a muscle that sits right here, and then you have one more muscle that kind of extends all the way back like this. If you do that on both sides, it will look something like this. So the thing that looks a little bit interesting right now is that you have like a bump here in the middle, even though in the middle you have the attachment of the bones. There isn't really like I guess there's no muscle there. So I think you can maybe flatten this a little bit and make these more prevalent, and then it would probably look a little bit more natural too. There you go. If you look at, you know, face anatomy, face muscles, there you go. You can see what I mean. There's no bone that could sort of create this volume at the top. So you would have this muscle here, then you would have this muscle, and then you have muscles here around the face, and here these small muscles that sort of extend up here to create, you know, to do this. But you don't have anything to create like a bump in the middle. There you go. Okay, those are a few things that kind of jump out to me right now. The lip, there you go. the fat pad right here, kind of filling this up. Then the ear, and then here the top, the forehead, maybe a little bit in terms of the structure. Okay, let me save this real quick. Okay, I actually have not calculated how much time we have for each, so let me do that real quick and then we can continue. So we have we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Divided by 2. So we have quite a lot of time for each, which is nice. So 120 by 2 is 6, what? 60? No. Hold on, there you go. Yeah, well, 120 by 2 is 60, but why did I say 2? 120 by divided by 7. 120 divided by 7 is 70 minutes. Okay. $17. Okay, we're ready to continue. Let me stand up real quick and then we can go. Oh, hold on. There you go. Okay, give me a second. Okay, let's begin. So the next person that has posted was Dustin Adler. He posted his final look for his character. He posted I guess work in progress before, and then he posted his final look. This is actually not the final look. The final look is somewhere here. Here it is. So with this one, I had a few things that he could do, but he basically did most of them, or maybe even all of them, in the second version. So let me just go in here. There you go. This is the final version. It looks really cool. I like it. It has a nice sort of floor on the ground, like a nice clean floor, and I think the materials look pretty cool too. You can see the nice glow here with some more compositing at the end. Nice depth of field to kind of give it a more realistic feeling. And the one thing that kind of jumped out to me when I looked at the other one, this one, is this one still looks a little bit flat. The reason for that, one reason that I thought about would be to give the floor a little bit more variety. How you could add variety to the floor, for example, is how he did it. He added like a nice little roughness texture to the floor. So you have a few spots that are a little bit rougher, and you have a few spots that are a little bit glossier, which kind of gives us this interesting light reflection change, which makes the floor look a little bit more interesting, a little bit more realistic. You could, maybe, I think the scene itself is supposed to look quite simple and quite clean. So maybe you don't have to add these variations to like everything here. Maybe like the table set, for example, I don't think it necessarily needs that. I think the clean look maybe even looks better because it isn't as cluttered. So I think this looks pretty cool. One thing that I see that you have changed is the background. Here in the background you have this gradient going over to black at the top, and for this one you've changed it to this sort of sky. I actually I guess that's just my opinion. I actually like the gradient a little bit more. This already looks like a sort of macro scene, so with the camera being very close to the subject and the subject being very small. If you for example, photograph a bug, for example, because the object or the bug is so small, the depth of field also becomes very, very shallow. If you, for example, look up for insect macro shot, what you find is that you have you have this fly here, for example. The eyes are very, very sharp, but if you go just a little bit further back, you can see immediately how blurry it is. The smaller something is, the more depth of field you can see, or the stronger the depth of field is. And that's what I kind of see here. It might not be intentional that it looks a little bit smaller, but that's sort of how it looks. And I think there it actually kind of makes sense to have this gradient in the background. This gradient always reminds me of these photo shooting background that you have for like product shootings, for example, where you have this white plane going upwards to create like a nice gradient in the background. I kind of like the background here more because it's like a nice smooth transition, kind of works very well with these soft colors, with these soft transitions and all that. Whereas the other one here, this one for example has like, oh hello, this one has this very sharp cut at the end right there, which excuse me, which makes it look a little bit emptier. I don't know why. Maybe because it looks like there's like so much free room in the background. With this one it looks a little bit more cozy, I guess you could say, because it looks like the wall is closer to the object, even though it might not be, you know. So I prefer this background, but I guess that's more subjective. But I think it looks really cool. There you go. Some cool lights too. Like a nice play between nice and warm colors, and like a good contrast between warm colors and I guess, what do you call it? Like cold colors? Yeah. Clean render? Yeah, it's really good. Like the tilt shift photography. What is tilt shift? Hold on. Tilt shift photography. Oh, yeah. Basically, there you go. Where everything looks very miniature. Here, there you go. You know, it's all miniature, and that's why the depth of field is so low. You can even do that with real photos, and make it look very miniature that way. I don't actually know if this is real or not. Yeah. Okay, let's get to the next one. So, good job. Bless you, thank you. The next one is by Purge. Now we read Purge. Purge posted his head first. He always said, I think he said he struggled with creating the full body. So me and I think somebody else suggested to do it in parts. So, you know, as I said before, after sort of getting used to sculpting the head, adding the body part after part. So that's what he's done. He went ahead and added the upper body too. So that's what we're going to look at next. Which one was it? Oh, Purge. There it is. There you go. So this is his body. And I think here we can the best way to give you feedback would probably be to look at the, you know, anatomy. So let's do that. So there, let me sort of point out the first few things that kind of jump out to me right away, and then we can sort of discover them, or kind of, I guess, explore them a little bit more. The first thing that jumps out to me is that the collarbone right now is very, very sharp right here. It goes very deep, not only, I guess, in its shape down here and then up again, but also in its depth when it comes to the sculpt itself. It's very pointy, basically. I think you can make it a little bit smoother. The V shape is also quite shallow, so it maybe also only really goes to there. not all the way to down here. So more like this. And the collarbone is very much sort of hidden. There are quite a few muscles that connect to the collarbone, so we have quite a few smooth transitions around the collarbone, which kind of blurs it and makes it, I guess, less defined. Another thing that I can see here is that the muscle right here from behind the ear that sort of helps rotate the head, or that is responsible for rotating the head right here, which would connect to the collarbone, sort of kind of just fades away right here. It's very, I guess, it's kind of flat here, but it would basically connect to the collarbone right here. It's basically, it's very, very visible when you, for example, rotate your head. So if you look at, hold on. If you look at my head right now, you can see there's the muscle. If I rotate my head more, you can see it gets more and more defined. So you can see it connects to the collarbone. And if I relax a little bit more, you can see it's more, it's, you know, smoother, not as tense. But you can still see it, and you can still see it connects to the collarbone right here. Right now, it looks kind of like it's sort of vanishing or kind of moving underneath the collarbone. There's like this distinct edge here which kind of signals that there's nothing connected to it, connected to this collarbone right now. I think kind of merging these together a little bit, kind of easing the transition, can probably help with that. You can probably look at it here too. I don't know if that's going to be visible. The shadows are too strong. No, it's not going to work, but we can look at my anatomy Pinterest board. Anatomy reference. So if you look at the, so many butts. So there it is. That's my favorite one to look at for the whole body. Here you can see the muscle coming from behind the ear. And then connecting to the collarbone. You can also see the collarbone is basically just like the connection of, well, it's basically the connection, the V shape is basically where the collarbone connects to the middle of the rib cage. Here's the muscle here, I mean the bone in the middle of the rib cage. That's where the ribs originate from or connect to, and that's also where the collarbone connects to. Show funny stuff. What's funny stuff? Welcome back, Maya Bold Trumiak. So yeah, the V shape is quite shallow, and these muscles connect to this V basically. So you can make this probably a little bit smoother. And funny stuff on Pinterest. We're not here to look at funny stuff, okay? Another thing to keep in mind is that the muscles here, the chest muscles, of course, they attach to the middle of the rib cage, and then they go all the way to the upper arm. I think what can help you when you practice, for example, the chest muscle, pecs, is to add the arm, so you can sort of include the whole shape of the chest muscle, not just the sort of biggest one. It is also important to sort of show how it sort of, I guess, transitions from the rib cage to the arm. I think that's one important step that you, I guess, have to practice at some point too. So why not do it now, I guess? So you can maybe add a little bit of the arm here so that you can include the rest of the, I guess, pec muscle too. Oh, you mean funny stuff? Those are just some random memes, okay? So yeah. Another thing is that if you look at the thingy here, you can see that there's a bone or a rib where the pec muscle connects to this rib right here. So it connects to all of this and then goes over to the upper arm right here, like this. So what you can also see is that then you have a little bit of an edge, I guess here, a little bit of a space in between the abs and the chest. Right now we have basically a transition right away from the chest to the abs right here. oftentimes what you can see in people is that they have a slight, you know, just a slight bump between the chest and the abs. So if you look at body builders, for example, here you can see there's a small edge right there. It's not as visible here. You can see it here. Here you can see it especially. Handsome man, it's an interesting file name. There you go. Here you can see the attachments very well because he's very lean. There you go. And then here's this little, I guess, border or distance. And then here's where the abs start. So, yeah. There's like a little edge here, which you can probably include here too. So I would say maybe you could reduce the chest just a little bit, bring it a little bit higher, so you have like a small little, I guess you could say, distance between the abs and the chest. You profit more if people watch on YouTube or if people watch on Twitch. I guess it doesn't really matter. you can watch wherever you want. Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. So you can go with whatever you like more. It probably maybe in the next few months I can activate what is it, monetization on YouTube, and then it would be more profitable maybe for you to watch on YouTube, you know. But you know, until then you can decide, or you can always decide, of course, but yeah, it doesn't really make a difference right now. Okay, so yeah. One more thing, because the muscles attach to the bones, they sort of, I guess, let me show you what I mean. If you have the rib cage, if you look at the rib cage from the side right here, this is the rib cage, okay, and then we have the abs right here, you know, ab and then another ab. This is looking from the side, of course. We have the chest being right here, but the chest muscles have to connect to the bone, which is right here. So what they have to do is they have to sort of latch onto it or attach to it, which means they taper off to the end. They taper off to the bone. You can see it with him too. Of course, he's flexing, so the muscles are more tense and, you know, a little bit smaller, I guess you could say. So they you can see this sort of transition very well. But if you, for example, have bigger muscles like he does, or I guess not bigger muscles, but well, if you have big muscles, it can also hang down a little bit, which creates this crease. But I think one thing that you can kind of consider is making, especially this crease right here, a little bit shallower and creating a more soft transition from the edge right here to this part right here. We have the very strong edge right now here. I think that's the same for the rest of the body too. The abs have a very strong edge. The rib cage here has a very strong edge. I think making these things a little bit more subtle can help out with the whole structure, because it makes it look a little bit more, yeah, realistic. Because everything is more like right now it looks more like these are individual pieces built together, and if you make them a little bit more subtle, it looks a little bit more like it's one object made out of smaller pieces. So this one looks more like smaller pieces being built together, which is somewhat the same, but maybe you know what I mean, okay? More subtle means equals a little bit more realistic, let's say. Okay. Another thing that sort of jumps out to me is the rib cage itself. Right now it's very thin. One thing that you that you need to remember is that the lat, especially when you look at, you know, bodybuilders, for example, is that the latissimus here in the back, this big one right there, this wing basically. Can we see one from the front? Here you go. The wing right here is wider than the rib cage. So the rib cage is not the widest part of the body. Of course, if you're, I guess, not, if you're less muscular, then the lat right here would be smaller. But even then, the lat is basically wrapping around the back of the body all the way to the upper arms, which intrinsically, because it wraps around the rib cage, it makes it wider than the rib cage. So you would always have a little bit of volume, I guess, that is wider than the rib cage behind the body or behind the rib cage. So what you would see here is a, hold on, there you go, is here we have the rib cage, which can probably be a little bit wider too and can kind of taper off a little bit later, so it's a little bit rounder here, more like this maybe. There you go. Okay, and then you have a lat that goes all the way up here and looks something like this. Here's the muscle, like then sort of goes around to the back of the back, I guess you could say, and then connects to the spine. Let me show you which muscle that is, so you can maybe kind of think about it better in your head. Here you can see it. This one is that's the one that I mean. This one right there. We go to a different view. Here you can see it. So this muscle right here, it connects to the spine, and then it goes all the way up to the upper arm, so that when you have your arms raised, this muscle is basically there for you to pull your arms down again. So it connects from the spine to the arm. When it flexes, it pulls the arms down. And this muscle wraps around. Of course, there are multiple that wrap around, but this one's the main one that you can see. The wing, basically, that I said, that wraps around the rib cage and is visible in the front right there. The more developed somebody's muscles are, of course, the more you can see it. But you can always see this V shape behind the chest right here, basically. It would be on the other side too. There you can see it. Here's the rib cage, and then here's the lat. Yeah. Okay. I think that's sort of what's kind of missing right now. This sort of shape right here. And then of course, because you haven't added like the legs, for example, it's kind of hard to imagine it. But there would be some more muscles right here, for example, that would then add a little bit more volume here too, to make it look a little bit more, I guess, aesthetic. And then we have the leg muscles right here. There you go. Which would kind of add some more volume down here to make it look a little bit more, I guess, what do you call it? Coherent. Right now it looks very, very thin down here. But of course, that's all part of the process. Let's go to the face real quick and talk about the face. I think, we talked about it quite a lot. I think the best way to improve the face, because right now it looks somewhat flat, you could say. The reason for that is basically because of the planes of the face. We've talked about the planes of the face quite a lot. Planes of the face basically mean the main, I guess, if you look at a face, you can break it down to the most simple shapes. And those would be the planes of the planes of the face. You can see them in our, I think, tutorial board or tutorial channel. Hello. There you go. These ones basically. I think by studying these a little bit more, you can give your head more structure and make it look more natural and more realistic. Yeah, you can find them in the Discord, in the tutorials channel. Okay. So what you could, for example, look at would be the cheekbone right here, maybe refining that a little bit more, and then maybe the ear shape a little bit too. Of course, it's like a more fantasy ear shape still. There you go. Maybe the nose shape a little bit too. There you go. Looking at the nose shape a little bit. I think the forehead can also benefit from planes, studying the planes a little bit. And the more you do it, the more you understand the structure and why it is the way it is. And it look more realistic as you, do it. Wait, why did I remove it? There you go. Yeah, so that was one thing that I would say about the head, the planes of the face. Okay, I think that's sort of everything that kind of jumped out to me here. Oh, and the head here in the back looks quite big. I think you can make it either a little bit shorter or maybe a little bit thinner. I don't really know what it would be. I think it looks like it's a little bit too long right here. I think it should be somewhere over here more. Like there. Okay. There you go. There you go. On to the next one. There you go. Somebody just said something. Okay. This one has been posted after we started. I talked about that rule before, but I posted it in the Discord. Hold on. It's an announcement. To make sure that the personal feedback session can run as smoothly as possible, I will introduce a new rule. I will cover all pieces that have been posted in the personal feedback channel until the stream starts. So around 6:30 p.m. UTC. Everything posted afterwards will be covered in the next session, so in 2 weeks. Looking at this. Oh, multiple. Oh no, that's the same character. Yeah, I think, just quickly, I think you've nailed the basic shapes already, and you can maybe go into more detail when it comes to, adjusting it, but we're going to get into that. It's in 2 weeks, I guess. Or you can, work on it a little bit more, then submit it again. Let's go to the next one. Of course, if you just joined, you don't really necessarily know that, but, I guess now you know. Let's go to the next one, made by Zaro. So, Zaro wanted to create a character. I don't exactly know who that is, but looks like Donkey Kong's brother. Maybe it is. But he wanted to recreate this character. Maybe somebody knows. Please tell me. I'm actually curious to see who it is. You missed mine. Hold on. Did I? Which one? There's nothing posted here. You mean down here? Don't do this to me? What do you mean? This one? You sent it afterwards. I've seen it, okay? You sent the message. I write this so I can edit it afterwards, so it looks like I haven't posted it too late, okay? Okay. We can look at it in the end. You posted it right when I started the stream. Okay. Yeah, he wanted to recreate this character, so let's look at it. There it is. Let me actually see if we can find Donkey Kong brother. There he is. I knew it. Who is that? Who is that? This is Cranky Kong, Wrinkly Kong, Donkey Kong. Who's that? Donkey Kong Jr.? Diddy Kong? Where is he? What is that? There he is. Chunky Kong. Interesting. Okay. The older brother, okay, of Kiddy Kong. Okay. So, yeah, he recreated, I already forgot the name, the older brother of Kiddy Kong. There you go. There it is. Okay. Did he say something? What did he say? Nothing? He said, here's the feet and hand. Interesting. Should need feedback on this. Okay. So, when I looked at it, I think I think the lightness looks pretty good. There are a few things maybe that I would that you could maybe adjust when it comes to the proportions. But I think overall the shape looks pretty good. Chunky boy, yeah. So yeah, I think overall it looks very similar. There are just a few maybe proportional changes that you could consider. One thing would be one thing that kind of jumps out to me are the shoulders. The shoulders for him, they might be too wide actually. They could look kind of weird for him. They look very detached from the body, very wide. But you can see here how the shoulders sort of, I guess, continue. Here you go. They're still very round even after the shirt. For yours, they're basically done at the end of the shirt and then transition to the arms. So you can consider maybe moving the shoulders a little bit further out to, to kind of capture the likeness, I guess, a little bit more. It might, I can see why you didn't do it because it looks kind of weird. So, if you want to, I wouldn't, I would probably not do it because I think this looks actually better than this. One thing that kind of jumps out to me too is the crotch. See, for him, I think his hips are wider, his feet are further apart, and I think the feet are also a little bit smaller. If you compare his body to his feet, I think the feet of your Cribbity Kong are a little bit bigger. So you could maybe especially shrink the ankles down a little bit. His ankles, I think, look quite thin. For yours, it looks kind of like a even transition from the legs to the feet. I think for him, it's like the legs get slimmer and then they transition over to the feet and gets wider again. So I think you can slim the feet a little bit. Let me actually do that. There you go. Hello, there you go. So what you could do is you could go down here and you could just kind of slim the ankles down a little bit like this. Make this nice V shape here to the ankles. There you go. I think that can help. And then of course we talked about the shoulders. So maybe making the shoulders a little bit rounder too, so that they maybe end somewhere over here, which is very wide, but if you want to go with the original character, then I guess you have to do it this way. Maybe even move the shirt a little bit higher up his shoulder. There you go. Do the same on the other side. To get it just a little bit closer to the original. There you go. I think I wouldn't not necessarily support the shoulders, but definitely the ankles. Look at the ankles. I think that can help. And then maybe also making them a little bit wider. I think that can help too. I don't know if I can do that in here. Let's see. Let's see what kind of magic we can perform in here. I don't think there's enough space in between them to do it. I'll just make them scuffed. Yeah. Yeah, so, making the ankles, I think, a little bit slimmer can help. And then making the hips a little bit wider too can help as well. But I think otherwise it looks pretty good. Let's look at the other angles. Of course, we only have a front view of him, so I don't really know what the back looks like necessarily. One thing, hold on, let's look at the hands. Maybe you could... hold on. Okay. No, never mind. I think the thumb is in a good position. It looks kind of funky just because it's in a pose or in a T pose, so the fingers are perfectly straight, which they of course naturally aren't. They always look kind of weird if they're perfectly stretched out. Here's how I created multiple strokes yesterday. Okay, let me see. I need it. Yeah, maybe you could consider making the arm, ankles, or wrists a little bit thinner too. I don't really know if that's the case for him, but I think it is. I think that can help with the hands a little bit too. And then one more thing that I can see right now is there's this this sort of thing about hands where the ankles or where the joints between the bones are wider than the bones themselves. So if you look at, for example, his hands here, what you could do, what you could consider is just to change the shape a little bit. You would, hold on, there you go. You could kind of determine, of course, where the ankles would be, because you have to do it anyway for bones afterwards. And then you would do it so that, you know, if you have the ankle right there, maybe it can be a little bit thinner here. Or maybe, or we can do it the other way around. You can make the knuckle just a little bit wider here. There you go. And then we can do the same with the last one here to kind of give them a little bit more structure so they look a little bit more structured. It looks kind of weird right now, but you can see it with him a little bit. How if we look at his hands, you can see how it kind of moves from these thickened knuckles to slimming down a little bit and then getting wider again, where it goes from the first bone to the next one. Here you can see it. How it's kind of wider and then it gets thinner again and then it gets wider again. That's one thing you can consider to kind of refine the fingers a little bit, but I think overall it looks pretty good. I like it. Okay. Yeah, that was that was bad, but yeah. So slimming the ankles maybe a little bit, bringing the hips further out, and then maybe slimming the wrists a little bit, and then the finger shape, changing it a little bit so that it has some more structure, I guess. Okay. Searched the internet to find out how to scope multiple strokes at the same time. I couldn't find anything relevant, so I experimented. Oh, I created an image with one half white and the other half black with a fade in between. Then I select my brush. I add the texture, set it to area plane with a rake enabled. This allows the texture to follow the path you create with the brush. Change the size X to have the number of strokes I want. Finally, I select stabilize strokes to have a smooth path, and I save the brush in my library. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think I get what you mean, or what you did. I think the most important parts about this is, you know, using a texture and then setting it to area plane with a rake enabled. I haven't tried that, so that might be the solution. You know what? We can try that real quick. So if you go in here and we, you know, remesh this real quick. Hello? Can I please remesh this? Why can I not? Oh. So now we have, okay. So if we now use the clay strips brush, for example, or maybe we have to use the draw brush, but let's use it with the clay strips brush first. We make a new texture. We import one. I have a few that I could use. It's in brushes, skin. Nope, not in skin. Veins. Nope. Sprinkle. There it is. So we have these dots now. And then if we go to here, what is it? Area plane and then rake. What does that look like? You can already see it if I press F. There you go. So if I do this now. Oh. Oh, hold on. Okay. Maybe a little bit too small. But it definitely works. Nice. So what if we... It's very, of course, pixelated right now. I guess we just need more resolution. So if we set this to something like that. Please don't crash. There we go. If you make the brush bigger. Okay. The other problem that we have now is we need to change it from... We need to change the stroke probably to 1% to make it nice and smooth. There you go. And then we can create something like this. Looks a little bit scuffed, but I think if you play around with it more, you can create something pretty good. Nice. Yeah, I'm probably gonna play around with it some more at some point. And this you can probably use quite well for hair. There you go. Nice. Thank you for researching that. I appreciate it. I think that's the way to do it. Okay, perfect. There you go. Looks pretty cool, actually. Let me try a few things here. I want to have another texture in here. What else do I have? Hello? Oh. What about this one? Oh, no. Oh, wow. That looks pretty cool. Wow, that looks pretty much like hair already. Well, somewhat, I guess. The only problem is that the geometry kind of is very messy afterwards. But you can also just kind of smooth it again, I guess. So I think, you know, playing around with it, maybe optimizing the brushes too. Oh, we can create good hair eyebrows like this. Look at that. Oh my, hold on. Look at that. That's pretty good. The structure get kind of lost, but maybe that's also just because of the resolution. But yeah, that's pretty nice. There you go. Detail, exactly. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll look into that more in the future. But now we know. Nice. Okay. Let's get to the next one. The next one is by Lon Jenin. He posted a new sculpt. I think he practiced the planes of the face, it seems like. I think that's what I talked about last time we... in the last feedback session where he posted an image or a head. So he also posted a blend file. So let's open that. Let's open the blend file. Wait, let me get rid of these. Nope. There you go. There it is. If you have images, well, if you have a blend file, we don't need images. So there you go. Can I open? Oh, I need to change the name. There you go. Yes, please. Okay. Perfect. Annotations. Hold on. Oh. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, bottom of the upper lip. Heart. Okay, nice. Okay. So I think the best way to look at this would maybe be actually to just pull up the planes of the head and compare yours to this one to kind of look at what you can maybe add to give it, you know, to kind of refine the structure a little bit more. So we can put this aside over here. I want to see myself. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So, hello. My pen is not working. Hold on. All measured exactly. Oh, by the way, I'm Brazilian. we yours was the first one we looked over. So if you want to, you know, check that out, I guess you can go to YouTube if you want to do it right now and then just rewind, or you can do it later as a VOD. Okay. There you go. So, okay. So I think the basic planes you already included. So what we can see here are the, am I in scope mode? Yeah, I am. Okay. So what you can see here is the cheekbone right here, which you can see right there. This line is in there. Going back to the ear, nice. We have this edge here, which you can see here on the side too. Can you see my mouse? You can you? You can. Do you see it? I don't see my mouse. There it is. Why is it lagging? There you go, this one. It's right there. Another one, of course, is the line going from here to the back. So we have this plane and this plane. And then we have another one right here for the eyebrows. Let's go over the changes that I would do to the planes that you've already added. So the first thing that sort of jumps out to me is the cheekbone right here. So this one, not only including this part, of course, this part here, but also here the front. The cheekbone is there to hold the eyeball in place. It's basically like a frame or a bowl to hold the eyeball in place. So if you see the eyeball right here, and you go look at the front, right now what the eyeball could do is it could, you know, just fall out like this in this direction. So there needs to be like support in the front here. So generally speaking, the eyeball, you can see it here too. Hold on. You can see it here too. The eyeball is further back than the cheekbone, I guess, in the front here. So what I would do is I would continue this cheekbone here around, oh, hello, around into the middle and add some more volume here. So that there's a nice sort of shape right here supporting the eyes, giving it some more room here. The cheekbone is also going from the nose outwards, pretty much horizontal. So something like this. And then maybe you could bring the eyes a little bit deeper too. There you go. Give it some more depth. So now we've already added the cheekbone, which supports the eyeball now, which holds the eyeball in place. There you go. We also added the second sort of plane here, this one underneath the eyelid, which is of course this one here, which is basically the fat pad that sort of fills up the space of the eye hole right here. And then we have the, we can go to the next one. Hold on. There you go. Okay, so that's one thing that I maybe would change. Another thing that jumps out to me right away, the orbiculi. Okay, good to know. I never really learned the anatomy names, but it's good to know, especially if you want to Google them. The next one that jumps out to me is the forehead. Oftentimes you can see with people that you have a separation. Well, oftentimes with people you can see that the forehead is round when you look at it from the I guess bottom, like this. Yours is round, so that's good. But it's not made out of one piece. There's like a middle piece right here that you can see here too. And then you continue with the, I guess with the eye, with the bone right here. So in this middle piece you have the transition from the nose to the forehead right here. And you have this little bump right here, which then tapers off to the rest of the face. If you look at references to see that, I think we still have it off, right? On. I guess we can use this one. You can see, can you see it? It's hard to see. You can see the muscles here in the middle. These muscles are there to do this, to look like angry at you, okay? And these ones basically form the middle part here, this part. Okay, and then they go from here outwards to make somebody look angry, you know? So if you want to draw this guy angry, if you want to draw this guy angry eyebrows, it will look something like this. And that is because the eyebrows get pulled into the middle by these two muscles here. And then you have the eyebrow muscles themselves, which are basically, right here. So then we have the transition right there to the rest of the eyebrow. Which means that you have a sort of distinction between, of course, these eyebrows here in the middle, or the eyebrow muscles right there, and then these eyebrow muscles here, which then sort of, as you can see here, transition over to this edge right here, which you've included, this edge. Okay. They transition over in this little triangle right here. This triangle right there. The triangle would look something like this. What I always like to do to add this sort of triangle is I like to add like a bowl or like a ball here in the middle like this. Like this, and then I smooth it. This ball basically represents this thingy right here. And then you can maybe smooth it a little bit here so that it looks something like this. Smooth it a little bit more. Another thing to keep in mind is that the head, sometimes it gets a little bit slimmer up top, but I think this might be a little bit too much. We can probably bring it out a little bit right here. And then we can even out the plane here on this side. There you go. Okay, this might be very, very defined. Let's ease it a little bit more. So we have these two muscles here in the middle. But then go over to the nose. For the nose, of course, we have the nose bridge, which is right here. And then we have the transition to, you know, the cheekbones right here. For the tip of the nose, we would have the sort of front, the nose tip, which looks something like little wings going to the side, like this. Then, of course, we have the nostril. Hold on, there you go. We have the nostril right here going underneath these wings, all the way to the back right here. Down a little bit too. Hello. And then we have the transition from the tip of the nose to the bottom, to the lips, I guess you could say, right here. It's like a V shape that fans out a little bit here at the bottom. Like this. Okay, this might be quite extreme. There you go. And then we have the nose. Folds. There you go. Might be quite weird right now, so we can probably turn this in a little bit. What you can oftentimes see in noses, if you look from the front, is the sort of this shape here. What are these things called? These paper constructions that you put in like that you hold on a string and you let it fly through the wind. What are they called again? In German they're called dragon, basically. I don't remember what they're called in English. There you go. So you have this sort of rotated cube shape. Something like this. Okay. And then there's one more, which you see here. You've added this line right there, which you can see right there. But this line is a little bit too far forward, maybe just a little bit. Bring it back just a little bit, so that we can include one more plane, which is basically coming from the nose right here. We talked about it today already. And then it goes down from the nose and around the mouth like this, and sort of adds some more volume to this edge. So if you were to do that right now, we could be adding a little edge right here, bringing this out a little bit more around the mouth. Adding some more volume here. For the fat that is sitting right here, which goes somewhere over here into the middle of the eyes. There you go. It's quite a stark contrast right now, so we can smooth it a little bit more by giving this some more volume here. Ease it into the rest of the face, or the cheekbone especially here. There you go. Also create a, I guess, more natural transition by pushing it outwards a little bit. There you go. Oftentimes what you can see in people is like this this V shape going from the cheekbones inwards all the way to the chin. This sort of V shape where you can see the face right here, and then you can see the jaw on the side, which gets created by this sort of fat right here, and the cheekbone kind of moving in together to to live together to build this sort of V shape here. Gave up on the nose. Welcome back, Ucredo Cinepotencia. Welcome. Hope you had a great Thursday. Hope you had a great few days. Or had a great week. Okay. Of course, you can see then it transitions from this fold all the way down to the chin. So we could kind of continue this here. There you go. Okay. And then it goes like this, up. There you go. Let's kind of define the cheekbone a little bit, like this. Oh, wrong brush. Of course, for the eyes, I think the eyes might be a little bit too small. We can make them a little bit bigger and then also push them down just a little bit, or we can push the eyebrows a little bit higher because I need a little bit more room here because I want to include the eyelids. Eyelids would be somewhere over here. This would be the upper eyelid. This would be the lower eyelid. Okay, this... Wait. Hello? Why is it lagging, please? Please don't crash. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay, so that we have the eyelids in here too, which then transition over to the tear duct in the middle, of course. Eyelids, and then we also have what you can see here, this little bump above the eyes, the fat underneath the bone of the eye hole. So the bone, you know, of course, goes all the way around like this. So if you were to draw this in, it would look something like this. There you go. And this space here gets filled by some fat sitting on top of the eyelid right here. There you go. I think the head might be a little bit too high or too long, the forehead. So we can probably lower it just a little bit. There you go. It can also probably be a little bit wider. The head is wider in the back than in the front, so it would have this sort of shape that looks something like this. It seems quite long right now. I think the head overall is quite long. So we can probably move it a little bit forward like this. So we can also bring this forward quite far. And then the neck. There you go. Okay, and then we can make the back a little bit wider. It's the widest on basically where the eyebrows are, roughly. And transitions to the widest part fairly smoothly, so I kind of want to smooth this out. There you go. Which, 50, let's set it to 85, as we said before. There you go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Let's kind of reinforce the planes again. So this one, here you go. We have the muscles here in the front, of course, or in the middle. We have the fat bed on the side. I didn't duplicate the mesh then. Well, I can still do it though. Hold on. Then we have maybe some muscles here for the jaw muscles here. So that looks like this at the end. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting there. Okay. The more you do it, the better it gets. So at some point, I'm gonna look at this and I have nothing to you know, give you feedback on because it's perfect. But let me save this real quick and then we can compare the before and after version. Yeah. Which collection? Okay. This one. There you go. Okay. There you go. So we have number 1. This is the before. And this is the after. Oh. Thank you. Wait. There you go. This is the before. And this is after. Of course, the structures are very defined, so you would smooth everything a little bit and, you know, work on it a little bit more to get it there. But, you know, I think there are quite a few changes that you can do to get it a little bit closer to, you know, to this, basically. There you go. Hope this helps, and I'm excited to see the next one. Thank you for the feedback and using my scope and the thumbnail. You're very good at being constructive and considerate. Thank you. I appreciate it. I try to be, okay? So it's nice to hear that I come off that way, I guess. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna put this in the Google Drive folder again, so you can download it if you want to look at it. Let me call it after and before. There you go. Okay. Perfect. Let's go to the next one. Wait. There you go. The next one is by. This one we already did. The next one is Memes Are Heaven. He wanted to do a birch material and a birch bark material. So when the birch is barking, you have a material for it. Okay. I tried to come up with something better, but I couldn't. Okay. Let's pull it up. There it is. He posted images, no material, you know, inside. I guess he posted his nodes too, but they're so small. Can we see them bigger? No, they're very pixelated, so we can't really see what he really did. But one thing that it seems like quite a lot of so what he said was this is the reason why it takes 4 to 5 hours just to bake the diffuse, so basically just the color. I think for this you can you don't need that many nodes. I think you really only, so you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 nodes maybe working together to build this. I think we can maybe recreate it a little bit, or maybe get to something similar to maybe show you how I would do it. So you could consider, you know, changing your nodes a little bit. Maybe that helps. So, done. Thank you for messing my... Hello? Hello. There you go. Why is it so laggy? Perfect. Well, well, well. That doesn't work. Okay. So. Okay. Let's build a material, a birch material. So I think, in my opinion, this looks pretty good, actually. The only real difference I think that you could make is to add a bump map. I think a bump map is, I think the main parts that you need to make something look realistic is the color and the bump map. The roughness map is also very helpful, but it's not necessarily as important as the color and the bump map. I think the color gives it all its color, and the bump map gives it its detail. And if you want to make something look realistic, of course, you need a lot of detail. So let's begin. We have our basic principled BSDF. So let's look at the what we want to achieve. We want to achieve this. First of all, what I want to do is, of course, if I would do the shader, I would look at real life reference. So birch bark. There you go. There you go. Looks pretty similar to yours. Hello. That's pretty close. Awfully close to me. Okay. Please step back a little bit. There you go. Okay. So that's what we want to achieve. So many windows. Hold on. Okay. So the first thing that we need is these stripes. The stripes, I think, are fairly simple. The way that I would probably do them is I would use a texture, which would be the noise texture. It would look something like this. One tip right away. All my trees say iStock. Yeah, we need to add that too. So first of all, make sure that you have Node Wrangler enabled. It's an add-on that lets you, I guess, that makes it easier to work with nodes. So if, for example, with this one, if you press Shift and Control, you can see the pure output of any node. So the noise texture looks like this, for example. Principled BSDF looks just like Principled BSDF, of course. If you have like a bump node, that's what it looks like, you know. So it's always good to have Node Wrangler enabled to see the pure look of a texture. You can also do it manually by just, I guess, plugging it into the surface to see the pure output. But, you know, just pressing Shift and Control is way easier. There are some more things you can do, but those are the most, this is the most important thing that I use. So the way that I would do this is we already have these sort of individual dots somewhere. So we have a little bit of dots right here. We have a little bit of dots right here. So we have these little dots right here, which you can see right there too. We have these individual dots. You could consider them stripes. But what are stripes? Basically, just dots squashed together. So what we could do first of all is we could refine or define them a little bit more. The way I would do that is I would use converter color ramp. You can also use what is the other one? Map range, but I like color ramp because it's more visual, I guess. So then we can go into the color ramp and we can bump up the black value. What that does is it increases it basically, I don't want to explain color ramp right now, okay? Basically, well, let me do it real quick. So this is the range. It goes from black to white. And this basically involves all the color, every color that exists in this texture, basically. And with these two values, we can basically define what this gradient is supposed to be. So if you add another color right here, or another handle, and we make it red, hello, we make it red, you can see everything that is sort of in this area here is pure red. Then it slowly transitions to white, and if it goes in the other direction, it slowly transitions to to black, which you can see right here. It is mostly red, which then transitions to a darker black, or it transitions to a white. But we want to have more dark, so we can push this black value here, or this black handle higher, which means more of these values here are basically black, which looks like this. There you go. Okay, I don't want to make it too big, maybe this, like this, there you go. So we already have, more defined splotches. We can also make this one, make white a little bit higher, so we have them more separated from each other, or we have a bigger contrast. And then I would use a mapping node, Control-T with the node wrangler enabled to include both. We would need texture coordinate and mapping put into the vector node of the noise texture. And then we can go into the scale, and we can change the scale to push it down like this. And would you look at that, we already have these little these little stripes. And now we can go back to the color ramp, for example. We can refine them a little bit, right, like this. Or what we can also do is we can go into the detail and reduce the detail so that we have less fluctuation, I guess you could say. Max detail looks like this, and no detail looks like this. So it can be very simple, or it can be very detailed. We have a roughness value too. What that basically does is it's similar to the detail, but it only really works if you have some detail. So now with 15 detail, you can see if I reduce this, it gets simpler again, but if I increase it, it gets more and more sort of speckled or scattered around. We want to keep it pretty simple. So we kind of find what we're looking for, maybe something like this. So we have some of these dots. There are quite a few of them now, so we can maybe bring this back a little bit to reduce the amount of black spots that we have. We can also reduce the amount of gray spots that we have by just bringing the white up. And look at that. We already have these small little stripes. Now, you might say, well, the birch isn't black and white. It is gray and brown. So why don't we make this one gray? Like this. And the other one can be brown. So it looks like it's something like this maybe. A little bit desaturated. There you go. So we already have the we have these lines, and then there's a little bit more sort of unevenness going on. We can add that too. But let me show you something else first. If you go to rendered view, you can see what do I actually have here? Oh, wait, why is it lit up? Oh, because we have it still set to the viewer node. If you plug that into the principal BSDF now, it's black because we need an HDRI. Let's put in it. Oh, actually, yeah. Let's grab an HDRI real quick. This one looks good. There you go. So now we can see we have this nice little texture. But you can see, looking especially at the shadows, it's very flat. There's no, roughness, no structure on the surface. So the easiest way that I like to add structure to this is I like to just grab the main texture that sort of controls the color. I like to bring it into another color ramp, put that in there, see what it looks like. It's just black and white. And if you bring this then into a bump node, color into the height, normal into normal, it looks like this. And we already have some bumps going on. Of course, that only really affects the what do you call it? The stripes, because that's the only thing that really exists anymore. But if we now bring not this color ramp, which already limits the colors, into the other color ramp, but the original factor, we get a little bit more structure. Like this. Of course, it's quite a lot right now. So we can also go in here and limit it a little bit again. There you go. Another thing, we mentioned it before, the roughness. If you want to vary the bump map a little bit and distance it or change it more than what the noise texture allows, is we can also just duplicate this. So we can create a second version of this noise texture, which we can then plug into the bump map. And what I want to do here with this is I want to increase the scale, the detail. Also the roughness maybe. Look at that. We already have some small bumps right there. And if we bring the clamping here back, we can add these little these bumps right there. It seems like this one is a little bit different in where the bumps actually go downwards. So another thing we could do is we can just scale this back to 1. Look at this. Looks like marble. And then we can change this scale here. If you hold left click and drag down, you can select multiple values. We want to use X and Y. If we change those now, we can create something like this. Maybe change the scale a little bit more. There you go. And then we can adjust the color ramp a little bit more. Make it nice and even, with some, I guess, flat spots. Like this. You could also consider inverting it, so it's more going outwards than inwards. And then maybe decreasing the strength a little bit, like 0.1. That's maybe a little bit too small. 0.5. There you go. And then including, one thing that we haven't considered yet is that these stripes are actually still affecting the bump, or they are bumps that like cuts in the bark. To include those into the main sort of bumpiness of the texture, we can use a color mix RGB node. So what we want to do now is we want to include these stripes into the main bump map, into this one here. So we want to include this into this. The way we can do that is we can put the main color ramp into color 1. We put the second one, the one that we want to include, into number 2. And then we want to set this from mix to multiply and set the factor to 1. If you want to combine black and white textures, that is basically the way you would do it. Because multiply basically means if it's black, it's going to color, well, black means 0 and white means 1. Which means if you multiply black from this here, so this is black, basically, we're going to treat this as black. If this now multiplies these values here times 0, they're going to be 0, which means they're going to be black. But if we have white values here, these ones, or gray, I guess you could say, let's say they're white. If we're going to say they're white and we're going to multiply them, white means 1. If you might multiply these times 1, even, they can be 0, they can be 1, they're still going to stay 0 or 1. And that's how you kind of combine bump maps. Maybe that's a little bit, I don't know if that was understandable, but at the end you would get something like this, where you combine the two, and we get these bumps right here. You could probably refine this a little bit more by, for example, let's see. So a few things that you can consider to make this better, of course, is these stripes look very clean right now. You can maybe add like a little frizzle on the, like you can make the edges of these sort of lines a little bit, what would you call it? I guess noisy. Hold on. Invert, what does that look like? That's better. There you go. You can make these bump edges a little bit more noisy. But yeah, there you go. Of course, there's more you can do, but I think this, looks pretty good already for a birch texture. Of course, you also in yours added these color variations. You can add these color variations basically the way we just added the other bump map to this one. So we could use a color mix RGB again, put that in there, set it to multiply, for example, or you could test around which one works the best. But now if we now use another texture, maybe a noise texture, put that in there, wait, into the color, or into the factor, you can decide. Let's use it in the factor. So this works now as a mask. If we use the color up again, this is what it looks like. If you make this a little bit stronger and this one a little bit weaker, this is what the mask looks like. So everything that is white will be color 1. Everything that is black will be color 2. So now if we change this color, we can add some redness into this. Or we can add some brownness into this, give it some more variation in the color. And this way you can make this look a little bit more natural. You can add a few more different, for example, variations of noise textures to this. You can add a few different, I don't know, like maybe you can set it, no, the multiply looks pretty good. I don't know, maybe some more detail here, roughness higher. There you go. Bump this up a little bit. There you go. Just give it some more variation. I think you only really need to use the noise texture for all this. And then once we bring it all together, it looks like this. Of course, as always, there's still some more that you can do. But I think it's definitely less... it's definitely less, I guess, less nodes, which is probably also gonna take you less time to bake. There you go. So to bake the diffuse, all you really need for this is the are these nodes, not this one, these nodes. So you could also just remove these for if you only want to see the diffuse nodes. There you go, and that's all you need. Yeah. I have a question. I made a procedural texture, but when I bake it, the thing is very flat and the detail is muddy. What do you mean with the thing is very flat? I think the detail comes down to the resolution. So you could check whether or not the UV map occupies the most of the space on, or enough space, or as much space as it can on, you know, the texture space. And then yeah, you need to just, I guess, play around with a little bit with the resolution setting. Okay. Yeah. So maybe, you know, maybe this helps. Maybe you can just copy this, you know, if you think this looks better. Or, you know, maybe you can include some of this into your own. Okay, let's get back to the next one. Yeah. Next one is by Nebulous. He's been waiting for a long time. Let's get to his. Let's get rid of all this real quick. Okay. He submitted a body. Finally, here's my scope for review. It's one of my first work in progress attempts at full body anatomy, and I think I'm getting there. But some of the shapes just don't look natural to me. Particularly the belly muscles, back muscles, face shape, and eyes. Any feedback would be great. Okay, wait. Did I miss one? This one. Wait. Oh, we jumped all the way down. Okay, well, hold on. I had, you know, quick spoiler, that's what we're gonna look at later, okay? First we're gonna look at the doctor, okay? So don't get too excited. I apologize for the change in the program. Hold on. Okay. You know, only 17 minutes more, okay? Okay. Let's look at the doctor. The doctor says, I'm trying to improve my face sculpt. This is supposed to be a female head, but it looks funny, and obviously because I've been looking at it for too long, I can't tell how to improve it. Okay. This seems to be a case for Photoshop. Wait, did he submit a file? I don't think so, right? Did he? He didn't. Okay. Oh, somebody said, if you're going for a realistic approach, the eyeball should be 1/7 the largest width of the head. If you draw a line going from down from the iris, that's where the corner of the lip should be. Last thing I would say is maybe make the zygomatic bone, which makes the cheekbone, stick out of the side of the head a bit more. Nice sculpt, by the way. I agree with these with this feedback. Well, let's get into Photoshop and do some more cells, or you know, even just do the ones that he mentioned. There it is. I want to begin with this one. Okay, so right away into liquify. The first thing that jumps out to me, or the first thing that I agree with, is the cheekbones. I think the cheekbones can be more defined. Right now the face, I guess, overall looks very flat and round. The face is quite edgy. The planes of the face make the face very separated into different shapes, and also there are some very clear edges everywhere. Of course, if you, for example, have references of a female head, for example, which is of course this is supposed to be this is a female head, so you would if you look at full-on heads, especially if they're a little bit, I guess, if they have a little more fat in their face, especially for female faces, they're very soft. You can't really see the structure of the face that well. So it's always good to kind of always think back to what the bones underneath look like and how the bones work together with the muscles and the fat pads to build the face that you see in front of you. The thing that I think looks a little bit too soft right now is, for example, the cheekbone. The cheekbone doesn't really... it's very sort of prominent here on the side. It's very like a small little corner here on the edge or on the outside of the head. Right now there isn't really like a prominent corner on the edge, on the outside. So we can bring this, we can probably bring it out a little bit more here. Sorry to do this without any, there you go. Just kind of bring this over there a little bit more. To kind of create this V shape that we said before, going from the cheekbones all the way down to the chin. There you go. Okay. So now we have some cheekbones right there. Another thing, I think the eyes, I agree, are a little bit too big. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the eyeballs are too big, although I think they are. I think they're a little bit bigger than 7 eyes for the widest part of the head, which would be roughly on the eyebrow height in the back of the head. So somewhere over here, that would be the widest part. I think they're a little bit bigger. That doesn't have to be necessarily because the eyes are bigger, so you could reduce the eye size. Another thing is, I think the eyelids right now are very... Hold on. They're very... they wrap around the eye more. Oh, I don't want to close it. Oh, dude. I'm so dumb. Okay, well, let's do it again. I closed Photoshop. Oh, no. So, I think the biggest change that will help you is reduce the eyeball size. So that the eyelids can wrap around the eye a little bit more. To kind of check... I guess you could check out how I did it in the follow along sculpting tutorial if that's interesting, you know. But if you would just do this in here, we would have the cheekbones, of course, here. There you go. Okay, and then the eyes are a little bit smaller. This is gonna look horrible. Oh no, there you go. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but I'm just going with what I'm just letting my hand move. Just letting control itself. Okay. There you go. Another thing we mentioned is the 2 muscles here in the middle, which form this little bump in the middle. Right now it goes very far down. It actually is not that much lower than the eyebrows, so we could probably raise it a little bit, and we can probably also lower the eyebrows just a little bit. So we have more of like a line right here. There you go. Another thing that he mentioned in that Shark123 mentioned is the mouth. He said the iris, if you draw a line down from the iris, that's where the corner of the mouth can be. Sometimes it's a little bit narrow, sometimes a little bit wider. But if you basically now here draw a line from here downwards, that's where the corner of the mouth could be, for example, either in the middle of the iris or a little bit more in the middle. I think it should be a little bit more in the middle here. Oh. So we could bring the iris just a little bit more. I mean the mouth. Make it a little bit wider here. That looks pretty good. Another thing that I notice is I think the mouth is a little bit it could be too flat, or it's too, the corner of the mouth isn't as deep as it could be. The mouth is very round, and I think what can help you here is, there you go. You can definitely bring the corner of the mouth further back, like this. I think there are more adjustments that I want to mention here. So let's go back to this one real quick to finish it. Okay, I think those are sort of the main things. Making the lips a little bit wider, bringing the corners back. The cheekbones can be a little bit more defined. Where's mine? There it is. I think the back of the head can also maybe be a little bit rounder here. Hello? Something more, oh my. Getting more and more wavy. Okay, I'm trying to make this round, okay? Forgive me. Okay, a little bit rounder here. And then the forehead can also probably be just a little bit shorter. There you go. Another thing is, it could be the focal length. I think it is. I think the cheekbones the jaw bones, corner of the jaw right here, can point out a little bit more. You can see it from the front. So it can just be a little bit like this. So you have more structure in the face. There you go. Okay, those are a few changes. I think those can go a long way. There you go. Let's go to the side view. I think the side view sort of shows why the front view isn't working that well. And I think let's look at some references so we can kind of compare the two. Female face side. I think I've Googled this every time we do this now. Need to make a bookmark for this. There you go. Well, let's use this one. So there you go. Let me give you a shape that I always follow when I create characters. That is the anime. Hold on, maybe we can find it. Anime face side. There you go. I follow this one. Here you go. Maybe the forehead is a little bit exaggerated, but the shape here in the front. If you were to draw this, it would look something like, here we have the forehead, then it goes over to the nose, which goes forward, and then it creates a diagonal line downwards to the chin, And the chin then goes back like this into the jaw. And then we have the ear right here. Then we have the eyes right here. Fat up here. Okay. And then we would include the nose in here. We would include the lips in here. That's horrible. Horrible. Okay, horrible. There you go. And then the chin. Okay. That's a very long nose, but you probably get what I mean. There you go. And then we have the eyebrows here. That's always what I follow this shape. So if you draw it again, it looks something like this. This one, let's draw the ear shape. Hello. It is okay, that's the head, and then it goes like, oh. Okay, let's do it again. Like this. So if you were to compare the two, here's yours and here's this one. So I think you push the eye, you can push the eyes a little bit further back. You can also it's hard to put into words how you would change it. I think it would actually be easier to just to start over again and take this or keep this in mind. So if you want to adjust or you want to create like a head like this, for example, it would probably be better to just start over. But let me see if we can, let's actually kind of try to force this into this shape, okay? Like a dog head, a little bit. So, first of all, we would bring the, oh no, this will look horrible. We can bring the eyes back. We can bring the forehead a little bit back too. There you go. Then we have the nose. We have the jaw. We have the chin here. Okay. We can make the forehead a little bit smoother. Okay. Maybe we can make the nose a little bit pointier. There you go. We can bring the corner of the mouth back. Another thing, the neck is currently very far away from the chin. It can, for females especially, be quite long, but especially the shape is like concave. It's caving inwards. It's like an inwards curve. I think you can bring it out. It's basically like a straight line diagonally down. So it will look something like, oh, hello. Like this. Okay. Maybe with a little bit of an Adam's apple here. If we would transition this neck into, well, this neck into the rest of the neck, I guess. We could bring this back a little bit. There you go. Here we have the clavicle. Okay. The jaw can also be a little bit more defined. We can probably, one thing of course, the end of the jaw is in the middle of the head. Looking at her head right now, here's the middle of the head and here's the end of the jaw. The ear is behind the middle. Right now it's further forward, so we can bring the back a little bit forward to move the middle further forward. So we're just gonna push this forward like this. Maybe even move this back a little bit. Okay. There you go. The bridge is quite low right now, so I'm going to lift it up a little bit. Kind of define this, the forehead. I mean the transition from the nose to the eyebrows. We said the eyebrows need to be lifted higher a little bit. Excuse me. And then we have a transition right here. Oh. Okay. The cheekbones look fairly far forward. I think we can bring them back just a little bit here. By adjusting everything a little bit more. Okay. Maybe the ear looks to be in the right position, but I think the jaw can be a little bit longer so that this diagonal can be a little bit straighter. And I think we need to bring the jaw back a little bit anyway. The distance between the eye and the jaw is quite short right now. By bringing all of this back, we can create some more space. There you go. And with all these changes, we have something like this. Getting it closer to the sort of anime style face shape, which fits quite well into the realistic human face shape too. And then let's compare the before and after. This is after and this is before. There you go. It's hard to put this into to put this into one word. You kind of have to just go through the changes to see what you can do. So you can probably do these changes in Blender, but you know, I think it's better to just consider the shape and then go start from scratch. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully this helps. Yeah. There you go. Okay. And then if you compare this, there you go. Wait. There you go. Getting closer to the shape. Of course, this is way too exaggerated. Comparing it to this one, it's a little bit different. Yeah. Okay. I have a question. Hold on. Let me save this real quick. Okay. I want to model Iron Man, which one is easy to make armor sculpting or modeling? I think Iron Man will be easier to model than to sculpt. You could maybe sculpt the armor as like a block out to have a guide for your when you model it. But I think to create the final armor, I would use poly modeling. Yeah. Okay. On to the next one. Now finally, he's been waiting for a long time. Nebulous, it's your turn. Okay. Let me sit down real quick and then we can get into yours. Okay, now it's your turn. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay. let's read it again. One of my first attempts at full body anatomy, and I think I'm getting there, but some of the shapes just don't look natural to me, particularly the belly muscles, back muscles, face shape, and eyes. Any feedback would be great. Okay, let's look at this with some references, so we have something to compare to, or to reference, you know. Of course, we could use a male body, but let's see if I actually have a female body that we could use. Hold on, I think I do. Do I? There's one. Okay. Perfect. Hopefully my 1.2 million vertices isn't too much. Never. Okay. Hold on. First of all, flat. Wait. How small are your vertices? Oh, there they are. Okay. Okay. So, let's get into it. Okay. Let's go from the top to the bottom, okay? First things first, I'm gonna draw. What I like to do is I like to sculpt the body by defining all the muscles, or by blocking out the muscles one by one. And then I like to merge them together by smoothing them and maybe creating some transitional volume. So let's begin. Let's do that, and starting from the back here. So first of all, just quickly, okay, we just discussed it. The front part of the neck is sort of a diagonal line going forward like this. So we can bring this a little bit further forward, giving the neck a little bit more volume like this. There you go. There's a small little dip in here. Oh, hello. What did you do? Oh. You're another person that uses radius sensitivity. Unbelievable. I would use that for digital painting, but not for sculpting. There you go. Okay, just to kind of refine this. Okay. Let's go to the back. So the neck muscle starts from the clavicle here. Okay, there you go. And goes all the way around the neck to the back and to the head. And it connects to the head right here. Of course, in the middle we have the spine right here. There you go. Here we have the neck muscle connecting there. Then it goes down and goes from here. As you can see, we have this little T shape here. So we have basically two parts for the neck muscles. One that goes to the side here and upwards, and goes to the front to the clavicle right like this. There you go. And then we have the other one right here, which goes to the spine and then downwards. So we get a shape that looks somewhat like this. Of course, for female bodies, it would be less defined, but we're going to do that afterwards. Okay. I don't know how I had radius on. Okay, yeah. Excuses. I see. Okay, so we have this bone right there. Another one that we have is the big one, the trap. Basically the next bone that sort of connects to the spine right here. It goes from this little triangle here downwards a little bit to make room for other muscles, and then into the middle, or to the what is this called again? I can't remember, but goes here into the armpit to the, what is it? The upper arm bone connects there. There you go, and then it goes down again and wraps around the rib cage here. Goes all the way down to the bottom. So it looks something like this. Maybe a little bit more like this. There you go. Okay. So we can, you know, just give this a little bit more volume. Goes all the way around. Creating some volume here. And then going to the arm, like this. It has quite a lot of volume, as you can see there. I don't know if you can see my cursor, as you can see right there. So we're gonna bring this out just a little bit more here. As we said before, the lat is wider than the back. I mean the what is it? The rib cage. So it is quite a lot wider. There you go. Hello, thank you. Okay. There you go, smoothing it. Now we can smooth it. Of course, the more geometry you have, the harder it gets to smooth everything, but we can still do it. Okay. There you go. Those are some big muscles that define the shape. But we have a few more here, which are not that big for females because those are basically lying on top of the shoulder blade. And what you can mainly see for females is basically the shape of the shoulder blade right here. I think which looks something like this. I think. There you go. Oh. Okay. You can see it here too. This white line is basically the shoulder blade. Hello, okay. Create like a transitionary tissue here, for example. Okay. It goes quite deep here. This muscle here, I think it needs to be a little bit deeper because these muscles connect to the arm, but they're not connected down there, they're connected up here somewhere. So we can create a bigger crease here. Like this. Okay, and then, well, which one were the main points? Belly, back muscles, face shape, and eyes. Okay. Let's just kind of draw some more muscles here, just to kind of tie everything together. We have the clavicle, of course, here. There you go. Goes up to here. And then it transitions to the what is it called? The shoulder blades. Then we connect the shoulder to the clavicle right here. Okay. Goes all the way around to the arm right here. And then it goes backwards all the way to the shoulder blade again. Like this. One thing to keep in mind is that the triceps is not creating a transition from here to here. That's not the case. The triceps goes basically like in here. That's why we have this crease right here. Okay. I also separate the chest muscle here from the rest of these muscles in here. Okay, so we have the rib cage right here. We have the pectoralis muscle or the chest muscle, and then we have the latissimus at the back. We have a few more in here, but those are more minor. Going to the front, we have of course the breast right here, which is usually just fat tissue, you know, that's why it's hanging down. It doesn't have any shape. You can't really, you know, I don't know, tense it up or whatever, you know. There you go. Sitting on top of the pec muscles right here, which come from here, basically go underneath the shoulder. Right here, go underneath it. There you go. And go from here, then to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, and connect up here, as well as in the middle. There you go. Maybe this is too high. So overall, I think these structures look pretty good already. You can probably, I think there are more minor details that you can look at. So far, okay. So how much time? 5 minutes, okay. I think this is good. The abs, so as we said before, we have like the rib cage, of course, right here, going downwards. We have a few more here. The abs are basically just like, you know, this, going down in a sort of shape like this, all the way down. And then you separate them into 8 parts. As you can see here, is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side. The first one, of course, being at the belly button. This is the big one. Then we have 2 more lines here, looking like this. And then we have muscles coming from, if this would be the ribcage here, of course. We have muscles coming from and connecting to the ribcage here, going into the middle and basically connecting to the ab muscles. Not connecting to them, but these muscles here that come from the side basically sort of go into the middle, right here. And then they get very, very thin and create a layer on top of the ab muscles. Which is why you oftentimes see not only the abs, but you see these weird lines going from the abs kind of upwards, like this. Kind of weird, okay? Like this. Oftentimes you can also see the rib cage sort of protruding from the muscle right here. Very stay. One tip that I have for you if you scope abs is stay very, very subtle. See how small these lines are? Stay very, very subtle. Otherwise it gets too extreme. And then down here, this one is quite a big muscle. So we can give it some more volume. All the way down, of course. There you go. Also, what you can consider is not making these very, very straight, but giving them a little bit of like a wobbly, okay, like this. Giving them a little bit more variation can also help. And then adding some more of this. These side muscles are basically there to what do you call it? To help you stabilize your core and also rotate your core. These ones are basically the connection from the rib cage to the hips, which when they tense up, let them rotate. Let your hips rotate, basically. So we have some more muscles right here over the hip bone, which then go into the middle too, like this, and upwards. And they go all the way to the back and go upwards like this. So we have a shape that looks something like this, going upwards like this. Maybe the rib cage can be a little bit higher, although I don't really know if that needs to be. I think that's pretty good. The other one was the face, right? Okay. So for the face, I think here we have the same case that we had before with the face shape. I think the biggest changes that you can do here to improve it is not necessarily to move the nose somewhere, but to move the eyes back. I think the forehead and the eyes are very far forward right now. To bring it more into the anime shape, okay, we can just pull it back a little bit. As well as the forehead too. As well as the neck. Bring it closer to the ear. If you look at heads, you can see how close the neck actually in the back gets to the ear sometimes. So something more like this maybe. Another thing is down here is actually where the head is the longest, I guess. Right there. So something like this maybe. And then adjust the, bring it back to the anime style a little bit more. Like this. With this sort of, you know, shape right here. And then we can bring the eyes back into the eye hole with the move brush. Oh wow, that's laggy. Okay. Bring it a little bit closer to this anime style. Okay. Another thing you could look at is the eyebrow and the cheekbone. The cheekbone can probably be refined a little bit more, so we're going to do it fairly extreme right now, just to kind of, you know, highlight what I mean. We're going to use the crease brush. The first one that we have, we're going to draw the planes basically, is right here. Cheekbone. Then this one goes into the, you know, to the, creates this V shape right here. We have this line right here to create the section between the fat pad, basically, kind of indicate the fat pad. We have the cheekbone right here. And the fat pad sort of padding the space around the eyes of the eye hole. There you go. Of course, we can add some fat here. Keep it quite smooth because it's supposed to be a female face, okay? I think another thing is that the eye, if you look at it from the side, the eye is very, very small. You can't really see that much of the eye. So you can also bring the corner here further forward. There you go, that's better. Bring it more into the middle, which means the eyes get smaller too. Okay. And then one more thing is this edge here, which goes up to the eyelid, I mean to the eyebrow, and creates this plane here. So we have this plane here, and we have this plane. Okay. You can probably do more. Well, you can do more, but, you know, I think, you know, I wanted to cover the body a little bit more. I think the body looks pretty good already. You can probably add a little bit more definition to everything to get it, to give it a little bit more, well, definition, you know. even, you know, bodies that are maybe not, that have some fat on them, they still have definitions. They just are defined a little bit different. But yeah, I think overall the proportions look pretty good already. Okay, so just like a few small adjustments that you can do that can bring it a little bit closer. Okay. And then we have the last one by Passion from Manika. Enseki 11. Okay. The latest of late. What is it? The last of last minute sketches. I mean, submissions. Can I please save this? Error. Why? No space left on device? Hold on. That sounds a little bit suspect. Oh, well, I guess it's time to clean up. Wait, but that's more than I need, isn't it? Gigabytes. What do you mean? Megabyte? Well, I guess. Wait, did I save it? I don't know. Well, I guess I'll. Wait, did I save it? I didn't. Hold on. Need to delete something. I don't know what's on my art folder. Oh, okay. Give me a sec. Let me just delete an old file. This one. Wait. Where's the big one? There you go. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Your file is no space? Are you kidding? How big is this file? $121 million. What? How? Okay, well, let me save it on my desktop then, I guess. There you go. Okay. Yeah. On to the next one. The next one is by Passion, aka Manica. No comment. So let's see what we can do here. Oh, I need to download it first. Hold on. Let's see if I get a virus. There you go. What do I need? I'm in the wrong one, am I? I am. Why did I go to... Oh. Okay. Okay. I still don't know what this is. I guess it's to see the silhouette. I guess it could be helpful, but I've never used it. But I'm not judging, okay. How did you make the eyes so black? Ah. Did you set the roughness to 0? No. Interesting. Okay. What is that? Is that the render frame down there? Okay, well, let's get into this. Do we have 2 here? Oh, okay. Okay, wait. Oh, I didn't do a before and after before the other one. Well, you can do it for yourself, okay? Can you not duplicate this? Can you? No. Okay, well. There you go. Okay. So. Okay. Oh, hello. What is that? Okay, let's begin. So, let's check the face shape. It looks pretty good. We have the you know, this nice little sort of nose block in the front, and then we have the forehead. Looks pretty good. We have the lips. The lips they can have quite a lot of variation to it. So this is not too bad. If you want to change it, you know, you could consider giving the front part here. Wait, did you deactivate symmetry? What did you do to this poor sculpt? Okay. You can consider bringing the front part here a little bit more into the middle. I mean forward. Defining it just a little bit more. Like this. If you look from the bottom, it can be quite round. Like this. Same for the lower lip. Okay. The lower lip doesn't have an edge at the top, but rather at the bottom. So it would look something like this. And then it would be smoother here. We also have a... Hold on. I'm going to use dynamic remesh, okay? I hate this. Why? I click it once and it always tries to change the value and it completely crashes Blender. Even though I don't even apply anything. Oh, okay. Well. Oh, wow. Why is it so... Okay. Okay, it always merges the mouth, which is not too bad, I think. I don't know why it's so hard on in this area here. But okay. So you can make this smoother here. Also we have these two bumps here. Dude, something is not right now. Oh, I know what it is. Radius, of course. Another one of those. Okay. So we have these two bumps here. And then we have the little line in the middle. It's not always there, but at least subtly we can add it. There you go. Another thing you can consider is the Cupid bow shape for the lips. So it goes down a little bit here in the middle. It goes a little bit higher here. And then it goes down again at the bottom. Like this. Okay. Which would then mean that we can give this a better shape too. Make it rounder. Okay. The corner here. It might be a little bit too far out. No, the upper lip is a little bit too far forward. That's it. It is roughly on the same level as the lower lip. So we can bring it back. Okay, and then we can probably also bring it closer to the middle. Or we can bring the middle closer to the edge. Another thing, we can probably move back just a little bit. I'm just kind of saying what I'm doing. I'm not really explaining why or whatever. So yeah, you have a muscle that goes, like these bumps are being made because of the muscle that come from here and go into the surface here, connect to the surface, so that's where these bumps come from. In the middle you have something similar. We have these round muscle that goes around the mouth and they attach to here and they merge together in the middle, which is why we have this middle bump here. So if you wanted to, you know, you could kind of increase the size here a little bit, which is what you can see in Arcane, for example. You could also maybe lower this down, this one a little bit more, here this edge, so that you can see in the middle. That also you can see in some people. So it looks something more like this. So you can decide if you want to do that. Okay. Well, let's go to the nose. Or hold on, I want to do this. No, that looks weird. You know what? That looks pretty okay. Let's go to the nose. So one thing to note is that the nostril is quite far in the face, looking from the side. So what we can do here is we don't necessarily need to bring the nose backwards or the nostril backwards, although we can probably do that. But we can also bring this part here and bring it a little bit further forward. So it looks something more like this, for example. And then we can bring the nostril just a little bit further back, like this. I can show you what I mean if we go to a female face from the side. There you go. They're pretty close here. If you go to another one, here, there's quite a distance between them. Quite a distance. So I think a little bit more distance can help here, like this. Okay. I think the nose shape looks fairly blurry. Maybe that's the word you could use here. The structure isn't that clear. Let's go through it real quick. We have the nose tip, which of course goes from the bridge down here. The bridge looks pretty good here. It goes out and fans to the side here and fills this space basically. Here, like this. So we can probably add a little bit more volume here on the side to fill the nose tip. There you go. We of course then have the transition to the nose bridge. We also have the nostril right here, which goes underneath the it goes underneath these wings, I guess you could say. So they, you know, to go underneath, they can be a little bit higher. There you go. Another thing that you don't see always, but I like to add it, is like a small little, you know, like a little upwards bow for the nostril. And the nostril is also quite round. There's not like a super sharp edge. Well, the edge is more here in the back. This part can be quite edgy. I think what is sort of messing with me is the thickness of the eye, of the nostril right now. I want to make them a little bit thinner, so we can make the nose holes a little bit bigger. There you go. Okay. And then maybe adjust the shape just a little bit. Maybe we can actually bring it further forward again. Okay. Okay. Another thing that we have is the good old fat pad going from... Oh, I just saved it. Well, I just screwed myself. Well, I actually didn't, okay. We can go from the corner of the nostril here around the mouth. And then by creating this, we can go from the nose bridge down here and add a little bit of volume here to give it the structure right here. Creating the V shape going from the cheekbone, looking from the front. There you go. Another thing you can keep in mind is that oftentimes, or most of the time, the widest part of the nostril is actually lower it's pretty low. So right now we can see it looks something like this. Some people draw it or sculpt it like this, but it should be fairly far down. Okay. Another thing that you can consider is moving the nose corners a little bit higher, but that's more an optional thing. We can maybe do it a little bit. There you go. We have this little fat pad here, which kind of gives it some more, some more structure. Another thing that we could add is this one here, which is very, very subtle. I like to just kind of cut in here from the corner upwards to create it. There you go. I think if I look at it, it's what I always like to look at. I think that's correct. In terms of proportions, I observed recently, I kind of wanted to set up a rule for the nose position. I think a good average nose position is when you go from the eye height downwards to the chin. I think it's somewhere in the middle, roughly in the middle of this distance. So from here to the chin, it's basically in the middle of that distance on average. If you look at this right now, I think it's pretty good. You could maybe consider moving the eyes a little bit lower. Usually female faces are a little bit smaller. So bringing the eyes a little bit down can probably help with that, making the nose bridge a little bit shorter. Like this. Of course, then we have to do just a few more things here and there, which would be the ear, bringing that down a little bit. And then, of course, the head itself. As I said before, it can get quite close to the ear, so we can bring it pretty far forward. And then I think the face can also, or the ear can be a little bit further back. There you go. Okay. Another thing, we talked about it before. The widest part of the head is roughly on eyebrow height. Right now it's above that, it's somewhere over here. So we can probably make this a little bit flatter, or we can make this part in the back a little bit wider. Here. There you go. Smoothing everything a little bit, make it a little bit more natural. Okay. There you go. The cheekbone looks pretty good, I think. Maybe you can define it just a little bit more by bringing it a little bit further forward. Right here. I think that can help. And then sort of creating a nice frame around the eye here. There you go. Okay. Okay. Another thing you can consider is bringing the eyebrows a little bit lower. Oftentimes, or usually, the middle of the eyebrow is lower or in the same height as the outer corner. Right now, it looks like the outer corner is lower. It looks kind of like this right now. So if we bring this a little bit lower, not too low because that makes it look angry. Making this a little bit higher too. And then pulling this a little bit further back, not too much. we can get something like this. There you go. Let me look at the eyeballs right now. So, looking at them, wait. Oh no, I think the eyeball size is good. And the iris size. Yeah, I think so. Okay. If you basically separate it into quarters, you have 1/4 here, 2/4 iris, and then 1/4 on the other side. I think that it looks pretty good. Okay. And then maybe we can bring the nose a little bit in. There you go. Okay. We've done a few adjustments. One thing that I still theorize about is whether or not my theory is correct, is which is I think the nose tip for female faces is a little bit I guess shorter. So it doesn't span as much of the nose bridge. So if we bring this down a little bit, maybe even in a little bit, of course, this. Makes it maybe a little bit more female, I don't know. Maybe that's not the right move. But there you go. Few adjustments here and there. I actually don't know what it looked like before, so we'll see. You could maybe consider moving the lips a little bit higher. Okay. But the base was already pretty good. You know, just a few more adjustments here and there can bring it a little bit closer. And when also the iris kind of pushes, or the iris is basically where the eyelid is the highest. So it will look something like this. There you go. The upper eyelid. There you go. Okay, so this is after. Let's look at before. Da-da-da. Okay, so yeah, we made the head a little bit brought it together, I guess you could say. We adjusted the nose structure a little bit, you know, just reinforced the structure a little bit with the tip and the nose, nostril and whatnot. We added the fan pit here on the side, which really adds a whole lot. This fan pad is just underrated, okay? It adds so much structure to the face, it's unbelievable. Then the cheekbone too, just kind of refining it, kind of moving it around the eyeball to kind of frame it. The lips, same with this fat pad here. This also does some heavy lifting, okay? And then overall just kind of giving the lip a little bit more structure by adding these individual bumps here, these two especially, and giving it more of a cupid bow shape basically. There you go. One thing you can consider is moving the eyeball a little bit further backwards, but it can probably also stay there. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Yeah, you know, I think a few more moves here and there, and then you can get it to this. There you go. Nice. Good job. Okay. I think I saved it anyway, so I'm gonna save it again. No space. Whoa. Wait, are you serious? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna remove some more. I don't need this one anymore. Get rid of this permanently, please. That should be enough. Yep. This concludes the personal feedback session number 17. Hopefully this was all helpful. If there are more questions, always, you know, you can always post them in the question channel or in the personal feedback channel. Hope this was yeah, helpful. Thank you for posting. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for chatting. Watching or just being here. Maybe I'll see you next time. Until then, have a great weekend and take care.